Well, good afternoon. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice or watching us on any of the social media platforms, be it Facebook or YouTube, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and I am your host on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 1 to 4 p.m. Listen, today we have a special broadcast for you from 1 to 2:30. We are having a roundtable discussion with co-moderator Angela Forsaw-Roos, Manager State Operations and Community Outreach at AARP, Pennsylvania. If you don't know what AARP, it's the American Association of Retired Persons. And today we're going to have a very detailed educational forum around the vaccine, the do's and the don'ts, what does it cost, how do we get access to it, what does that look like? And so in order for us to get started, I really wanted to take you guys back a little bit. In March of 2020, at the beginning of March of 2020, I had Dr. Ayla Stanford on my show, really just to acknowledge her for Women's History Month. And it was on that show, she said to me, I told her I was getting ready to go visit my oldest son. Some of you have heard this story before, but I'm telling you, this has literally impacted the lives here on WURD radio station. She told me not to travel and told me that there was a virus that no one was really discussing at the moment, but she assumed, and she told us then on the air, please assume that it is viral and start wearing your masks. While she was on the air, we began getting phone calls from WURD audience members who said, listen, I don't believe it. It's a hoax. This is not coming our way. Black people can't get it, and on and on and on. As a direct result of that, Dr. Ayla Stanford decided that she was going to come on every week. She graciously, every week, twice a week, Dr. Ayla Stanford was on my show right into April, and right around May, she decided that she was going to start the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium, and she talked about it here on this show, and the train took off. As a direct result of Dr. Ayla Stanford and what has been happening with her work in Philadelphia, we here at WURD Radio have been able to impact so many lives, starting with us, the hosts, right? We decided to go and get our vaccines done. I am fully vaccinated. I was very open and transparent about the process so that anyone who wanted to get one could think about it. Last week, I traveled to go see my parents because they were getting their second vaccine, and I wanted to make sure that they were going to be okay. The Jamaican in me, you know, that's what we do. We make sure our family members are okay, and we get that going. So today we're going to have an open, in-depth conversation about where we are in Philadelphia. And with us today, aside from Angela Forsaw-Roos, who is our co-moderator, who I'll let you talk to in a second, Dr. Samara Seeley, who's a lead physician for Cigna, Sandy Carrington, who is now the doctor of nursing practice, nurse practitioner, who is someone who is a traveling nurse and travels into people's homes. Bryant Green, always Best Care Home Health Care, who is the founder and owner. And we have Veronica Hill Milborn from Spectrum Health, who is the RN, MS, JD, President and Chief Executive Officer. Good afternoon to all of you. I hope I did you justice. Good afternoon. So listen, we have a lot to discuss. Ms. Forsaw, let's start with you, right? Why AARP? Why is AARP involved in this process? What do you want people to know about that organization and as it applies to vaccine education in the city of Philadelphia?
Andrea, thank you so much. And thank you to our amazing group of panelists that took time out of their very busy schedules to actually help people, just to inform the populace as to what's going on right now, April the 6th of 2021. There is so much happening in the COVID-19 vaccination education space. AARP has been hard at work since the world kind of took a turn in March of 2020, just to figure out how this virus impacted not just the globe, but the tremendous impact that it had on the 50+ population. We know that over 80+% of people impacted by this virus have been over the age of 50. So there was a tremendous opportunity for education, not just as how the virus would take flight in our communities, in our long-term care facilities, but moving on to being healthy, how to survive in the midst before we even had a vaccine, and where we are right now to vaccine education. How do I register for a virus? Is this for vaccine? Is this vaccine good for me? Is this vaccine going to be good for my aging parents, for my younger children? There's just so much that we have to unpack in the form of hesitancy when it comes to our Black and Brown communities, as well as the benefits, as we hear from our medical experts, as well as some true feelings, word on the street. Why aren't people rushing to get this? And if they want to get it, what are the challenges and barriers that are existing right now, specifically for our African American community?
Yes, 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 yes. And so we're about to have a very rich discussion. I cannot thank you all enough. Please understand that as we are going through this process, that I want you to be as transparent as you possibly can, because on The Source, we tell people everything, right? We give them all they need to know and then some. I'm going to start with Dr. Seeley. You have been working with people who have been. What have you seen in the community as it applies to COVID-19 and now the vaccination process? How are your patients getting access to it at this point, or are they still sitting on the fence, or are they not having access to it, and why?
So we have a population of patients that are probably the sickest of the sickest, and the patients that really need access the most. One of the challenges that I think our practice has come across is a lot of our patients are homebound. So getting them vaccinated when the vaccines require the cold storage and all of the things that go along with being able to get that vaccine to those patients in their homes has been one of the challenges. However, our patients are resilient, and I tell you, they have found places and ways to get this vaccine that is just amazing. It's been a group effort. The docs, when they call the patients, they will get on the computer and sign them up if they are eligible and do that work for them. So it's been a group effort. We've got our social work team, our nursing team, our doctors, our nurse practitioners. It's an all hands on deck approach to getting our patients access to these vaccines now that they're available. We have seen so much death in our population, in their families, and so many people have been affected by this virus. Even if they didn't personally get it, they've had family, friends, close contacts that have been affected. So it is super important for our patients, especially their family, their caregivers, to get access to the vaccine. And there has been some hesitancy, but I think overwhelmingly people are afraid of COVID-19 after living for a year. People are afraid and they want the world to open back up. So they are really chomping at the bit to get their hands on this vaccine, which I think is going to be the key and the solution to ending this pandemic.
Thank you so much, Dr. Seeley. Miss Veronica Hill-Milbourne, tell us your role with Spectrum and what you would like us to know from your end, from your lens.
Well, thank you so much. I am absolutely thrilled to join the panel discussion today because I think it's so important to get information out into communities at highest risk for COVID. Spectrum Health Services is a federally qualified health center, and we've been serving the Philadelphia community for almost 55 years. And all the way back to March of 2020, we began providing COVID testing at our Haverford Health Center, which was huge. And we continued testing in our tents all the way into the winter months. We were out there 3 days a week in the heart of the coldest months of the year. And as soon as we were able to provide the vaccine, we began. We are providing the Moderna vaccine. We are vaccinating people. We're up to about 1,200 vaccines a week. People need to be registered, and you can register on our website just by simply going to www.spectrumhealth.org. So it's spectrumhs.org. For people that don't have access to a computer, they can simply call our COVID vaccination line at 267-670-7822. And it's usually taking us about 5 to 7 days to get back to people.
Oh, good. Thank you for letting people know that, because they, when they are stressed or concerned, they're thinking you should call me right away, and these people are not returning my call. So 5 to 7 days. Listen, people. Okay, response time. Okay.
Yes, and I can tell you also that when people come to Spectrum, it is a very organized process. They don't need to stand in line for hours because we have appointments. And we recently, just this week, on Monday, started offering walk-ins for 65 and older individuals, only on Mondays and Wednesdays from 9 to 2. And we did that because we know that our seniors are at highest risk and are having great difficulty in finding vaccination appointments. And so we want to get in front of this pandemic and make it as easy as possible for those at greatest needs.
Okay, thank you so much. I have a ton of follow-up questions for all of you, and Dr. I'm calling you Dr. Ruth. Whenever you want to jump in, please let us know. But I'm just continuing to introduce the people. Bryant Green from Always Best Care Home Health Care. You're the founder and owner. What is it that you would like us to know from your organizational standpoint, sir? Thank you for being here.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm really, happy to be here and happy to hear the conversation and learn and share. Always Best Care Senior Services provides in-home care primarily to seniors, but we support Philadelphia and surrounding counties on the skilled and non-skilled level, and we support the whole entire state of Delaware. And it's just really been a real challenge at points. Quite frankly, we from the beginning have been on the front line, sending people into people's homes. And, at one point in the beginning, I think kind of as COVID was revealed and explored, we participated on several different state conversations and CDC conference calls. Every time we turned around, it was a new reg or new compliance standard and that kind of a deal. And, PPE in the beginning was something that was just like, take out your shield and fight and get it.
Yep.
And then, when you got it, you had to disseminate it and, really give an education. But I just want to just say, thank you to all of my frontline workers and back office staff alike. For us, now that we've kind of gotten into this year of resolution or on our way to resolution, I can see that people are still hesitant to get the vaccination. People are really getting cagey and still starting to, I guess, in some ways, let their guards down and participate or think about vacation to spots that are hot spots, quite frankly. And we're always having a conversation. Be careful, be safe. If you go there, you're going to have to quarantine. And what does that mean? And for us, it's a little different, too, because if you know anything about seniors or providing in-home care, oftentimes people think it's just as simple as sending somebody into somebody's house. But you have seniors and caregivers that have these relationships that when, a caregiver gets sick, a senior is very hesitant to let somebody else in the home. And then, then when the caregiver or the senior gets sick, then it sends the caregiver into something. So you have this kind of a synergy between this working relationship that we tell them not to get personal, but how can you not get personal?
Right.
And we have just been, sharing information, sharing knowledge. And Dr. Alice Stanford and the Black Doctors Consortium, I'm glad you said at the top of the show because I've had her on my show as well. She's been a great place, a great institution, organization to watch. And because of organizations like that, we've been able to kind of develop waiting lists and be able to parcel out caregivers and seniors alike. And just so you know, too, we've gotten a couple of calls from a couple of the Philadelphia health centers where people are canceling their appointments. So, if you're looking to get an appointment, I'm just going to throw that out there. You might want to call one of the health centers because, it's our understanding that a lot of times people, because of vaccine hesitancy, will oftentimes cancel their appointment. So at the end of the day, they have these open slots. So it's just a matter, I think I see our role as still being, somewhat of a resource, but also a connector to different resources to get the vaccination.
Yeah, Mr. Bryant, it's interesting that you brought up that you're getting calls from the health centers. Here's what I am hearing. This is the scuttlebutt that I am hearing. A friend of mine went out to the convention center with her sister, saw very few people of color. And so she said to a soldier that was there, "Where are the black people?" And he said, white soldier, he said, "I really don't think they fully trust anyone who is not someone of color because of the disparities in the healthcare system, which makes sense, which now leads me to Sandy Carrington, brand new doctor. Thank you, madam. Good, congratulations again. What are you hearing from your patients? You and Dr. Seeley get to see the sickest of the sick. You go into their homes and examine them, have conversations with them about choices, etc. What are you hearing from them as it applies to the vaccinations?
Well, first of all, thank you, Andrea, for hosting the stage. I think it's an important ongoing conversations around COVID and resources and things like that. And I will be remiss to say if I am not the living proof that Dr. Ayla Stanford and her team, the work that she has done in this area. Our patients at our practice at Allegiance Care in Philadelphia has been benefiting from our home vaccination program. She's already in our homes to some of those homebound patients that cannot get out. So she actually goes to my church, and if we had church in person, I'd give her the biggest high five, high 10. So thank you, Dr. Ayla, and I owe you one when I see you. But to get back to the question, what am I hearing from our patients? Well, there are a segment of our population that is already on the ball, even before we can get to them. They have figured out a way to call this one, call that one. They're on a waiting list. So they have family members who can facilitate the process, meaning that if they need a computer to sign up, so on and so forth. And then there is a segment of our population that's like, I'm not doing it. I'll wait for the first go round. They're waiting for somebody to get the third eye or something else.
Yes.
And quite honestly, we've built a rapport with those patients. And as we go in to see those patients, we're now having those conversations that, hey, I understand you feel that way. And listen, I'm here because I'm vaccinated. And that in itself just really brings down the barrier somewhat. And then it may not be the first visit, but the second subsequent visit. And, you know, most of them actually are accepting the vaccine.
Okay.
There are a few that are not, and that's okay. And we tell them that it's okay. So our work really, we cover all the counties, but the majority of the work, and where I work primarily, is in the heart of North Philly, is in the underserved population. I am going in places where, you know, folks don't want to go or even think of going. And I have, along with Dr. Seeley, have really secured some connections in trying to get folks these vaccines. So, for instance, for anyone that's listening, the pharmacy at 10th and Lehigh has 10,000 doses of vaccine. They are in the neighborhood. If you can get there, they will vaccinate you. So, I mean, and that just came out not that long ago. So we have these worker relationships, and quite often just being able to disseminate it to our patients, you know, they're appreciative. But I don't see the barriers as big as I initially thought.
Okay, so I'm going to take a quick station break, and when we come back, Angela, I would like you to take over and talk about what you're hearing from Pennsylvanians about their experiences in trying to get the vaccine, because we're all aware this was a little rough in the beginning, right? And so now that we have more vaccines available, what are you hearing from people about their experiences? Hold tightly for me, please. I have to take a station break. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
WURD Radio congratulates the winner of the 2021 Level Up Contest. Hot off the press. This year's Level Up winner is a Anissa Smith of the Black Food and Dessert Expo. As the winner, the Black Food and Dessert Expo will receive a marketing package valued at $5,000, which includes a 4WURD small business membership, advertising on WURD Radio, an on-air interview, social media outreach, website acknowledgement, membership to the African American Chamber of Commerce and the Chamber of Commerce for Greater Philadelphia, access to a workshop at the Business Center, and recognition on our partner stations, WVON in Chicago and KJLH in Los Angeles. Learn more about the Black Food and Dessert Expo by visiting wordradio.com and clicking the Level Up banner. WURD Radio would like to thank everyone who nominated a company or participated in the 2021 Level Up contest. An honorable mention to our 2 runner-up finalists, Dr. Helena Fontes of the New View Institute and Antoinette Coward Gilmore of Dance for Nia. Be sure to support Black women-owned businesses throughout the city. Special thanks to our sponsors, Bank of America, Comcast, Pico, Keystone First, Jefferson University, and Jefferson Health, along with our supporters, the Business Center, the African American Chamber, and the Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce. The Black Words Book Club. WURD Radio's new monthly conversation on books that explore the African American experience through social, economic, and environmental justice issues. Tune in the second Tuesday of every month on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro, 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. For April, WURD Radio is partnering with the Free Library of Philadelphia and showcasing their pick for its annual citywide reading program, One Book, One Philadelphia, entitled The Tradition by Jericho Brown. Be sure to listen live, as Nick Taliaferro will hold a contest for a giveaway book bundle that consists of 4 titles from Kensington's Defina's Authors of Color's newest release. Don't miss it. Tuesday, April 13th on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Attention 4WURD members. Get your copy and receive a 20% discount when you purchase at Harriet's Bookstore or Hakeem's Bookstore. For more information on the Black Words Book Club, visit wordradio.com. The Black Words Book Club is sponsored by Defina. Defina is an imprint of Kensington Publishing Corporation, America's independent publisher, concentrating on authors of color.
Okay, Her's new fire potato chips and cheese curls, they are spicy. Whew, they're hottest snacks yet, hold on. Whew, but you know, it's not just heat. There's some nice sweet and savory stuff going on too. Ooh, there's that heat again. It burns, but it burns so tasty. Ooh, that's hot. Find Her's Fire Snacks at your store today. Whew. Taste the flavor, feel the heat, break out the Her's.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on wordradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you are just joining us, we're in a roundtable discussion with my co-moderator, Angela Forshaw-Roos, who is the Manager, State Operations and Community Outreach at AARP Pennsylvania. WURD Radio, again, is delivering information while providing corporate entities direct access to the word listening audience at large, and we're pleased to have a roundtable discussion with experts in their field. Bryant Green, Dr. Samara Seeley, Sandy Carrington, Dr. Sandy Carrington, so I have to put that doctor there, Veronica Hale Milborn, and I'm going to turn it over now to Angela Forshaw-Roos from AARP, who will then lead the discussion a little bit for us. Go ahead, Angela.
Oh, thank you so much. You know, we've been hearing from Pennsylvanians of all walks of life that were in dire straits in the beginning just to get information about the vaccine and the process. Yes, they heard it from the previous administration, you know, and whatever your politics are, right now, it's all about education. So people can be informed to make the right choices for themselves and their families. We know that it was a slippery slope, you know, when the registration lines became open across the state. We know Philadelphia had its own separate distribution plan from the state. I do want people to realize that. Because of the size and scope of Philadelphia, the administration previous, you know, asked Philadelphia as well as some other large cities across the country to submit their own distribution plan, and that was awarded. So Philadelphia's plan was a little bit different from the rest of the state. So we've been hearing from members all across the state about truly their frustrations in the beginning, right? So in February, we had a statewide survey from all of our members just asking about their frustrations. And in one day, we received almost 4,000 responses from one survey to talk about lack of information, lack of education, their frustration in trying to be registered. And we know that this is true. But what I want to point to people's attention is to remember where we were toward the end of January and to where we are February. We saw lots of complaints from different municipalities and counties, because some of those counties are overseeing their own distribution on the local levels, of not even having enough. And now fast forward to April, we're still hearing some of those challenges from officials across the state, but it's getting better. More people are able to at least get through. One thing I wanted to mention too, the AARP is a really big advocate right now for the digital divide. And that has been a real challenge when many of the opportunities to register for the vaccine has been where? Online. So what do you do when you don't have access to technology or even wired for high-speed internet access? AARP jumped into motion. We immediately started convening with the governor and key members of the administration to say, you got to open up some call lines across the state, everywhere, because there's a large percentage of the 50+ population that does not have access to technology or have a friend or family member to get on to register for them. And you know how challenging it is now currently just to register. So we've seen progress in more 800 numbers being available, more live operated areas where people can call and get help to register. So there is progress. We stress patience. You know, we heard that, you know, if you call, you know, you may have to leave a message and in a few days somebody will get back to you. Stress patience. I've heard from one county where they have over 200,000 people on the waiting list. Just one waiting list from one county. So you can imagine what those lists look like. And, you know, in a few days, we're going to be opening up to more phases in Pennsylvania, right? So phase 1A was primarily the 65 and older. You know, we're still kind of going through that phase. And now we're going to be moving into the phase where more people are going to be eligible to at least apply and register. And that's going to create more waiting lists. So we want to have this forum and more forums to come so people can at least learn about the vaccine, learn about the different types of vaccines that are available. You know, we heard from members that were saying, well, I want to choose Moderna or I want to choose J&J. What we're hearing in real time is that there's no menu. It's not like going to Burger King, you know. Yes. What the providers have is what you're going to get. Now, once you register and you go there and you don't want that vaccine, you can decline it, but then you're kind of going to be put back into the list, right? So you have to be educated on all the vaccines and, you know, what the data says, and you make that choice for you and your family members. And I think that is so very important to kind of throw out there to our listeners and especially our practitioners. And all of our panel members have been hearing this daily. And I feel like our audiences and our populations need to be patient, but also to be educated and know the various opportunities to register. Just personally in my family, I'm hearing if you go on these websites that are aggregator sites, family members are telling us, well, go at 2:00 because, you know, they filter out all of the, you know, the appointments and you'll be able to get an opportunity or get a slot. And that's been, you know, life-saving for many people. I hear some members have Facebook groups where they're joining Facebook groups to get help to register. I think, you know, as much as we can, you know, we're in an environment right now where we're not social. We can't convene. There's a lot of social isolation, especially speaking for the 50+. You know, a lot of activity happened in our local senior centers and areas where our seniors can go get help. But because of mitigation efforts, we are homebound. So how do you get help? How do you reach out? So I feel any way that we can help share knowledge of how people can get connected to get help to register if they choose to get the vaccine is critical at this time.
Right, agreed. Ms. Milbourne, talk to us a little bit from Spectrum Health. What are you seeing? I just saw someone on Facebook say, I want to get the shot, but I am scared.
So I understand people have fear and apprehension, and I've spent a great deal of time out in the community trying to educate people that the vaccine is safe. Like you, I too have been vaccinated. So I want to just speak to what it means to be a federally qualified health center, because Spectrum, like there are over 500 federally qualified health centers in and around Philadelphia. And to my understanding, we're all offering different options in terms of the vaccine. But the beauty of receiving care at a federally health center is that we provide everything from primary adult medicine, social work, behavioral health, nutrition support. We have a 340B discount pharmacy program. So patients, if they're ill, if for some reason they contract COVID-19, can get medications that can help them at a fraction of the cost. We have 3 health centers that are providing the Moderna vaccine. We're located at 5201 Haverford Avenue in West Philadelphia. We're located at 1325 South 33rd Street in South Philadelphia and 1415 North Broad in North Philadelphia. We can coordinate transportation support to get people to our health center. We too have had homebound patients come with in ambulances, community transportation vans. We will work to help our patients get to us. Okay. So what I tell people is that Spectrum is probably one of the best kept secrets in Philadelphia, but no longer. We're advertising on social media, through word of mouth, through our website, through bus campaigns, railways. We've got marketing efforts out there. My providers, I should also say, our medical providers look like the people we serve. So who comes to a federally qualified health center? Primarily, we serve those who are underserved. Most of the people that we serve fall well below the federal poverty lines and don't have access to care and services. But we provide everything. Again, primary care, dental, behavioral health. And you know, when you contract COVID, it's scary. But I tell people it's better to get vaccinated and to reduce your risk factors substantially than to take the chance of contracting COVID. Right. I personally have known several people who did not get vaccinated who lost their lives. Mm-hmm. This is scary. This is real.
It's so scary. And speaking about, vaccinations, I'd love to pivot to Dr. Seeley to just try to help us identify a little bit about the various vaccines, right? So we know that there's 3 on the market. We're hearing that there's currently a 4th one from AstraZeneca coming forward through the test phases now. What can people know about the various vaccines? We have Moderna, Pfizer, and the Johnson & Johnson vaccine now available.
So I just wanted to piggyback off of what you said. A lot of times patients want to be able to choose, and we are really not at the point where you have that option. So a lot of times you really have to get what's available. And what I can say is, despite all the numbers you hear on the news about this one's 95, this one's 85, this one's whatever the number may be, I can tell you that they are all 100% effective at preventing death. And that's what we really want people to know. So it is not inferior to get the Johnson & Johnson versus Moderna or Pfizer or any of the ones that came out before. And as we continue to get more trials and more more vaccines on the market, nothing's coming on the market that's inferior to what was there before. And so it's really important to know that they are all very good vaccines, and whatever you can get your hands on, that's the vaccine you should take, because despite all of the numbers, 100% reduction in death, I think is a good number, if you ask me.
Yeah, so let me piggyback onto this, and then I'm going to jump over to Mr. Green to find out and Sandy Carrington, Dr. Carrington, to find out what their thoughts are on this. We have had folks who said, well, I don't have to get the vaccine because only 2% died or 10% died or whatever the rare number is. And no one seems to be having the conversations around the fact that there's so many hundreds of thousands of long haulers, people who got the vaccine, ostensibly recovered, then began having issues with their kidneys, with their hearts, with their lungs, getting strokes and heart attacks. They're now talking about the fact that people who are randomly, who seem super healthy, getting heart attacks and strokes and those kinds of things. What do you say to the people who are still saying this is a conspiracy? Because they're saying it. I know people who are saying, look, all of y'all can get vaccinated when you get the fin out your head or the third eye, then we'll talk. There just seems to be, but it's mostly folks that are in our communities, right? Because they're reading things online. Excuse me, the misinformation is incredibly, it's everywhere. We're seeing it behind closed doors. We're seeing it openly in the social media spaces. What do you say to people who are still saying, I'm not touching it? Mr. Green, let's start with you.
You know, it's interesting. Being in home care, the blessing and the curse is, the blessing is the information comes right directly to us. And sometimes the curse, but also a blessing, is the fact that people are getting it right in front of you. So the people in our village, let's just say the modest village, I don't want to say the underprivileged, because we're privileged in knowledge, right? The people in the village see it up close and personal. So I don't have, it's a story that continually sells itself. What people in a lot of ways, not only to their conspiracy theories and the disinformation, have also bound themselves to the hesitancy of, well, I got comorbidity, so it's going to, it's going to be a trigger till I get migraines and that kind of thing. And I always say, listen, either you want to be sick with COVID or a little sick with the vaccine, if that's the way it's going. And I got to tell you, in the beginning, if I'm going to be transparent, I even said it on my show, I was very afraid to get it. In fact, I was called out by the Enquirer maybe about 6 months ago. Are you going to take it? You're a leader of many, blah, blah, blah. And at that point, I was kind of myself like, I don't know. And like, I think it was Dr. Carrington said, nobody got the third eye or the third ear or something like that. Because Dr. Carrington, I was on that. I was like, hold up, wait a minute, I don't know. But then, I, because of my philanthropy work and that kind of thing, and I'm a, 1A, I decided that I would go, and I was made an offer by McGee Rehab Foundation, where I sit on their board. And they said, Brian, come on down and get this Moderna. And I did. And I kind of Facebooked it. And through myself, I was like, all right, y'all, I didn't grow no extra ear, come on with me. And then, what that triggered, though, honestly, more questions. Mm-hmm. For those people that live in that world of disinformation and lack, in my mind, intellectual curiosity, I'm going to have to leave you over there. Mm-hmm. But in our space, again, as I said in the beginning, the blessing is that we're up close and personal. So it's a curse, too, to some degree, but we're up close and personal, so it's a very real situation. As Veronica said, we've seen, unfortunately, a lot of people that we know. It's not like people that you read about or a statistic that somebody calls out. This is somebody that I actually knew. I knew their kids, I knew their family, and they're no longer here. So I think the angst is shifting. In the beginning, I think that if you would have asked me this question, I would have said more people, non-minorities, were apt to take it than minorities for the obvious reason. I just did a round robin in my office of both, and I have a very multicultural staff, and just as many non-minorities as minorities were, either for it or against it. And more, as that population of against it is shrinking. And I, as the administrator, I hate to put my weight on it, but I'm always asking why? Why don't you want to get it? Because I'm curious. Not that we're at the point now that we're going to have to start making folks get it, because I think in Jersey, they just said, in Jersey, where I have a farm at, they said that, they're going to start making people get the vaccination if they work in healthcare. Mm-hmm. We haven't gotten to that yet in Pensy, but it is a conversation. And really, what's starting to happen, too, is a lot of our clients and consumers are saying, well, are your caregivers vaccinated? I'm like, Miss Essie, you just got vaccinated last week. Stop. Knock it off. Give us a chance to catch up. But it is a situation where people are starting to ask and inquire, is your staff, vaccinated? It's a real situation that we live with. It's not, somebody doesn't have to read it to us. We don't have to pick up the paper to read it. We have it right there, smack dab in front of you. There's no way of getting away from it.
All right, so we have to take a quick station break. When we come back, Sandy Carrington, Dr. Carrington, I want you to answer this question for me. What are the immune responses? Notice I did not say side effects, because each person's immune system is different. What are the immune responses that we're seeing to the vaccines? And then Dr. Seeley, we need to ask you, has anyone died from taking the COVID vaccination? We have to ask it, right? You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. If you are just joining us, we are having a roundtable discussion and a very good, honest, sincerely open one on the vaccination process in Philadelphia and the country and how it is impacting us here and what are the do's and don'ts as we move forward. This panel is rich with people who are expertise in their fields, and when we come right back, we'll continue this conversation with Angela Forshaw-Roos, Manager of State Operations and Community Outreach at AARP Pennsylvania. We will be right back after these messages.
Nappy style hair products are formulated for today's black men and women's hair, embracing ancestral hairstyles. Come and experience these products: beard oil for men, cream paste, and napping gel growth oil for braids. Go to www.nappystyles.com or The Movement in Mount Airy, 7133 Germantown Avenue, or African Cultural Art Forum, 221 South 52nd Street, or Culture Exchange, 1450 Point Breeze Avenue. Be happy to be nappy. The Sweet Treat Hut is the highest rated juice bar in Philly, located on the corner of 50th and Thompson Streets, providing delicious, healthy vegan food, juices, and smoothies. Treat yourself to a cup of happiness. Call 215-877-1471.
Jefferson Health offers no-cost COVID-19 testing sites at St. Raymond of Pinafort Church. Testing is on Thursdays and Saturdays. The second testing location has been added at Richard Allen Preparatory Charter School. Testing is on Wednesdays and Fridays. For testing hours and more information, visit jeffersonhealth.org/community testing.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. I am not sure what's going on here. I am going to pivot over to Angela so that after Sandy Carrington answers her question, which is, what is the immune responses we're seeing to COVID-19? And Dr. Seeley, has anyone died from taking the COVID-19 vaccine? And then Angela, you can proceed.
So simply put, when the COVID-19 virus invades our body, they attack and multiply. That's what the infection is. Our immune system then recognizes this, and they have different types of white blood cells that are known as the fighters. They come out, they're called macrophages, B lymphocytes, T lymphocytes, they're all big words, but they get ready. So this vaccine in itself is a messenger to our immune system to say, hey, I want you to recognize when the spike comes and fight like you never fought before. So I'm not talking about side effects. The side effects to the vaccine that we have all experienced is a normal reaction to something foreign being put in our arms, our bodies. So, once the messenger gets in there, gets implanted, it waits for the COVID-19 to attack. So you having a vaccine against COVID-19 does not mean you cannot get it. But what it means is that your body will fight it off. Boxing gloves comes out and they boom, 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 boom. They start knocking them out. So that what we call the mortality will be decreased. As Dr. Seeley said, we know it's 100% effective against death. Now, will you be sick? Probably. So that's why it's important, even after vaccination, mask, hand washing, none of that goes away. It should still continue. I think this is going to forever change how we look at what we do in terms of our wellness for our bodies. So beforehand, and I know you've said this, Andrea, even now I see people go to the bathroom and they walk right out, Those things don't stop. So.
Agreed. Ms. Rouse, I've been calling you Roos this whole time. So please forgive me. Rouse, I finally got it. And we have a Jamaican connection. Forgive me.
Right, that's right.
Dr. Seeley, has anyone died from taking the COVID-19 vaccine?
It's funny you asked me this question. I just had this conversation with my family members on a group chat. They were asking, well, has anyone died? And I went and looked at the data because it's important to me to to have numbers and to look at data when I talk with people. And to date, there has been no pattern of death following the COVID vaccine to suggest that the vaccine is responsible for death. Have people died after getting a COVID vaccine? Sure. Can we say that the vaccine caused the death at this point? No, that has not. We haven't seen any patterns. We haven't seen anything happen sort of on a recurrent basis that we can attribute it directly to that vaccine. So at this point, I would say the answer to that question is no. We do know that people die from COVID, COVID disease, but no one has died from the vaccine.
That's so important to continue to hear, because there's so much misinformation out there, conspiracy theories, and we just have to keep our eyes on the prize. Let the data be your guide. And with that, especially in our Black and Brown communities, we know that the virus has disproportionately impacted our communities. And I want to pivot to Ms. Milbourne to talk a little bit more about some of those chronic conditions that were kind of underlying factors that made our African American community even more susceptible to the COVID-19 virus, and what we're doing to kind of help with that 360 continuum of care during the time of isolation.
Right. You're so correct. So people of color traditionally have higher incidence of high blood pressure, diabetes, obstructive pulmonary conditions. And we know that the COVID vaccine, or the COVID virus, attacks lung tissue, cardiac tissue, and could be catastrophic. Something interesting that I always share with people, because I think sometimes having analogies and having adult conversations bring it home for folks. When they tell me that they are afraid or they think there's a conspiracy around the vaccine and people of color are going to be used as guinea pigs, I say to them, if that were so, why would the rollout start with healthcare providers? Why would you want to take out all of your healthcare providers? If the community at large is sick, the first people you need to turn to is your healthcare providers. Secondly, I tell people, if the vaccine were not safe, why would all the other non-Black and brown people be breaking down the doors to get the vaccine? That should tell you it is safe. I have received calls from colleagues across the country asking me, can you help me? Can you get me in? I heard on the radio just last week that out in California or Florida, celebrities were flying in on jets and getting, advanced access to the vaccine. I am encouraged because I do see our communities waking up. People of color, people at risk do now start to see the importance of vaccination, and I'm encouraged by what I see. The services of Spectrum, our providers, our physicians, our nurse practitioners, our social workers are equipped and trained to educate and provide treatment to people who have needs, that have chronic comorbidities that make them more, vulnerable to the virus. And it's so important to have a relationship with a provider. I think it's wonderful when you're doing these random vaccinations here and there, that's fine. But our people need to be engaged in care with a provider who understands all of their conditions, their family history, and can treat them over the course of their life. That is so important.
That's such a good point. AARP schedules many teletowns, phone town halls, because you can't gather. And we had medical experts to connect to the members. And in some cases, it was the very first time in over a year that individuals had a chance to talk to a doctor. Yeah. That they didn't even have a relationship with their own healthcare provider. So how would they begin to get information? So these forums that we're doing and others are critically important for education. And I hope our listeners are really benefiting from that. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the vaccine, because there's a lot of talk about, well, if I just get the vaccine, one shot, whether it's Pfizer or Moderna, is that good enough? Do I really need to follow up with the second dose? Can Dr. Carrington please enlighten us a little bit about the importance of getting that second dose if you did choose to get the Moderna or Pfizer?
Absolutely. So you get the first dose, and we know through studies and through what the information is being passed down is that there's 50% protection. So it's kind of like, okay, do I want to step 1 foot in the grave or 1 foot above, the dirt? We need to get that second dose to ensure that we have the adequate coverage that will protect us, or at least give us the ability to fight this virus. It is very, very important, whichever one that you're being offered, Moderna or Pfizer, not choose, because I've heard that too. A lot of people are like, I want this and I want that. And one thing that I do, make sure that I make it relatable to the patient. So, I mean, because we are frontline workers and we're in healthcare, some of our own patients have passed. So a lot of times I make it relatable to whatever the story is. And I say to them, listen, I want you to know I care about you enough to share this story with you. And I bring that perspective in. And usually, most of the time, I have not had a whole lot of pushback, but I think that we're waking up now, and I think this is good. I look back at a year when Andrea first spoke to me about this forum. I look back at a year. What were we doing a year ago? Dr. Seeley, who heads up our practice, had to pivot the whole practice. Now we had to move to the telehealth forum. And how do we do that? I mean, we're talking about patients that, they don't have access to that, what we know as the telehealth with the, various video platforms, the apps or whatever. It was good old fashioned phone calls to a lot of them because they're older and they don't know how to work this thing. But we've got our practice up and running, and telehealth is actually here to stay. We do lots of telehealth. We can actually see the patient on video and do 90% of our assessment on video. The patient calls in for a problem. Instead of waiting, we can get on there, we can see them, and we can treat it appropriately. So, there's lots of stigma, but also to let them know we've been here a year later, you're still here alive. So you have that opportunity to take the vaccine. And whatever their decision is, I usually, it's personal and you have to respect it. But in my own family members, I must say it starts at home. I try to say, listen, I hear what you're saying, but please respect my opinion if I choose not to be around, because I have to make that decision. And sometimes it's not easy. If you don't want to get the shot, maybe I can't be around.
And that's so important, and as you're talking about access, Brian, you are really kind of coming to mind because you just do such tremendous work at Always Best with homebound individuals. And at AARP, we've been hearing a lot of people that are homebound that are saying, don't forget me. You're getting ready to move into this next phase. What about me? I need somebody to come in to provide not only the vaccine, but other services. What are providers like yourself and others doing to access those homebound individuals in terms of them getting the vaccine and other necessary care?
Before Brian answers that, I have to take a quick station break, so then he can come right back.
Yes.
Hang on 1 second, please, but hold that thought. And also when we come back, someone wants to know what is in the vaccine itself. So we want to deal with that piece. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. We will be right back after these messages.
Every day brings an opportunity to connect to your community and one another. With AARP, you can connect without ever leaving home. Just click, and you're at a movie watch party with other fans, chatting in an online book club, or drinking a cup of joe with fellow family caregivers. Connections like these remind us the community is more than just where we live. With virtual offerings available here in Philadelphia, you can click to connect at aarp.org/near-you.
Just one more step. You got it.
You're doing great. This is the sound of a nationally ranked top rehabilitation hospital, home to the largest collection of robotics in the United States, where we continually exceed patient expectations. Because no injury is too severe or too minor for our care.
There you go.
This is the sound of success. Moss Rehab. Challenge accepted.
This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Independent Black Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, we have been in a riveting roundtable discussion. You all know who I am, Mother Andrea Lawful Sanders, and I have my brilliant co-moderator, Angela Forshaw Rouse. Got it. It's a Jamaican in me. I'm telling you, I put the wrong emphasis on the right syllable. So Angela Forshaw Rouse, who is the State Operations Manager and Community Outreach at AARP Pennsylvania. I'm getting text messages from people that this is very, very helpful to them, traveling nurses who are going into people's homes, and this is what WURD Radio provides. We deliver the information and we bring corporate entities and partners to the table to continue to engage directly with our community. Ms. Rouse, over to you. You had a question for Brian Green.
Yes, Brian, I wanted you to talk to us a little bit more about the homebound and what Always Best has been doing, as well as other providers, to bring these necessary services to these individuals. And a quick story, I had a tragic passing of my mother-in-law. She didn't pass away from COVID-19, but, she needed some critical services that were not available in those earlier months where kind of everything was on lockdown, and even before some providers were able to access the teleservices, so I know that there are thousands, if not tens of thousands of people that really need access that Always Best provides.
I had to get my microphone together. I'm sorry for the delay. But in any event, you do bring about a good point. In terms of homebound service, we've been trying our best to keep up with the demand. And it's interesting. In the beginning, the patient census took a little dip because a lot of people, out of fear and just not knowing what was going on, decided that they wanted to put their services on hold. And in some cases, they're like, we can't put services on hold because you really need services. But now we fast forward now to where we are on the resolution with the new administration that has done a yeoman's job of getting information out there. We're following the science. So one of the things that we have been partnering and doing is partnering with the Area on Aging's COSA down in Delaware County, and then Philadelphia Corporation of Aging for PCA. They are still here. PCA has been here for over 50 years, and that's a vertebrae of information and connecting folks to services. And along with that, with Community Health Choices, we have been given a lot of information to clinicians and caregivers alike from either the Office of Long-Term Living website, and if your listeners are listening to Android, they can go to pa.gov, P-A-G-O-V, and read for yourself. There is information about, your eligibility. There's an eligibility tool, the frequently asked questions, a vaccine provider map. I want to give a shout out, if I can really quickly, to New Joy Missionary Baptist Church. They had a vaccination event today at North Philadelphia. They partnered with the Philadelphia Fire Department to give vaccinations out. So just like when Dr. Carrington said that pharmacy at 10th and Lehigh, when we get information that's credible, we share it. And then we become a valuable point of information. So I'm not going to say we haven't dealt with the disinformation or people that are afraid or hesitant to get it, but that population on both the minority and non-minority seems to be shrinking. But we have been sending caregivers, Angela, we've been sending caregivers out in Uber. We've been doing all kinds of creative things to keep things going. And I just revert back to the whole village concept. We have been working within the village on information, on resources. A lot of times we find ourselves out of scope of practice or just having a conversation with folks, as Veronica said, just sharing information, just like that. I love that analogy, and I'm gonna plagiarize that. I think that's wonderful. When you compare it just that way, if it wasn't a credible source, why would they start off with the healthcare providers? And we remind, and I think I want to give a shout out to our clients and the consumers and the adult children making the decisions for being patient, because the clinicians are people too. they get tired. You know, and they're out in this field front line. And so I think it's really a slap in their face under that old administration. I used to get really annoyed when you had the old administration demonizing a lot of ways the scientists that were just trying to bring help. So, you know, who better than to listen to a doctor? Sure, you know, Black and brown people have a history of, you know, not so good history with the health system. But right now, when you look at it, when you have the president and the vice president leading by example, you know, and then, you know, you have physicians themselves leading by example, and clinicians and nurses and LPNs and therapists out there leading by example. I think that's very helpful. And again, just sharing knowledge, and programs like this are so very important.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let me ask this follow-up question. Dr. Carrington and Dr. Seeley, you can take them any way you want to. What is in the vaccine? And someone asked, is it true that certain blood types are more resistant to the COVID-19 virus? I'm looking at the questions now in social media. And someone else wants to know, what is the turnaround time to get the second shot? So Dr. Seeley, let's start with you. What is in the vaccine?
Let's start with what's in there. So there are two types of vaccines on the market. The Pfizer Moderna are what we call mRNA vaccines. And so what that is it's information. So it's basically the instructions for how to make that red protein that you've seen on all the pictures of the COVID vaccine on television. It's that red protein that is on the outside. What we're giving you when we give you that vaccine is we're giving you the instructions to make that red protein. Because what that red protein does when it enters the cells is that's what your body recognizes and begins to say, this is foreign, this doesn't belong here, let's bring out those boxing gloves like Sandy said. So it's instructions to make that red protein. The other vaccine that's on the market is called a vector vaccine, and that's the Johnson & Johnson vaccine that we have currently. And that is essentially that protein on an altered virus of a different type. So it's not on COVID, it's not on COVID-19, but it's a virus that shows that red protein. So again, your body says, this doesn't belong here. Let's make some boxing gloves so that we can fight. So there are two types. They have a little bit of a different mechanism or way of getting into the body, but essentially they do the same thing. They prime your body, tells the body what doesn't belong, what to look out for so that it can mount a response.
Okay. The next question is it true that certain blood types are more resistant to COVID-19, the COVID-19 virus?
So to my
audience, go ahead.
So to my knowledge, there's not any information that confirms that.
Okay. All right. Simple enough.
The other piece that you asked about was the time frame for the vaccine. So we know with the Pfizer, it's recommended for the 21-day between the vaccines, first and second dose. For Moderna, it's 28 days. However, the vaccines, if you're not able to get that second dose, because that happens where people, for one reason or another, they cancel, they delay it for whatever reason, it can be given up to an additional 4 to 6 weeks with good efficacy. Now, there's, that's the recommended. The 21-28 is what they studied. And they do know that it can extend out a little bit longer. Now, that's why they say get it as soon as possible. They don't want anyone to wait that extra, 4 to 6 weeks. But they really recommending staying within those time frames because that's what, they did within the study.
Okay, so that makes sense. I have family members in Jamaica who are getting the vaccines and are being told that they get the second one 6 to 8 weeks out, and I'm going, "Ooh, does that make it?" Okay, now you're answering the question. Okay, that's interesting. I have one more question, then I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Rouse. There have been reports about mutations of the virus that are now in the United States. 3 so far that we know of: the UK, Brazil, South Africa, right? Belize, South Africa, somewhere in there. What do we know about how well the vaccines work against those mutations? Dr. Seeley, would you like to take that?
Sure. So far the data is showing that we are still getting some good protection against those variants. viruses are, that's what they do. They mutate. If they didn't mutate, we would be in a good place, but that's what viruses do. That's what they're supposed to do. They mutate. So that's their way of keeping their life cycle going. But so far, all the data suggests that the variants and the mutations are still getting good protection with the vaccines that we have out on the market. So far, so will that change later? Potentially. I know that I believe Pfizer, even maybe Moderna, they're already working on booster shots, should that be necessary, to get you some additional protection. But so far, so good.
All right, Ms. Rouse, over to you.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, these are such good points. One thing that I wanted to let our listeners know too is all of the great information that we've been talking about with vaccines. We would be nowhere without the great advocacy and the community partnerships in terms of helping us have equity and access. You know, at AARP, we've been working so hard since March of 2020 on the federal, state, and local level to advocate for transparency on the vaccine, making sure that we have enough data coming in from our neighborhoods in terms of how the virus was affecting our communities early on, where we are right now with hospital rates, you know, infection rates, especially in our communities of color. That's so important that we have that data available from the municipalities to the state over to the federal level, as well making sure that all the funding that's been coming through on the federal level and the state level are reaching the municipalities, are reaching their community groups, are reaching the neighborhoods, so we could have true equity. You know, that is so very important. And I wanted to kind of pivot the conversation a little bit to talk about the importance of collaboration, because we've been seeing a lot of amazing doctors. I know we gave so much shout out to Dr. Stanford and what she's been doing with the consortium, Twin Docs as well. I mean, we can go on and on. There's some amazing groups within the African American community out west in our Pittsburgh area. They have a COVID-19 consortium there that have been really just taking charge to help vaccinate the community and educate. How important are working with our healthcare partners, our interfaith organizations, and our other nonprofits in helping to build equity in this space? And I kind of open that up for anybody to jump in at this point, because I think it's important that our community knows who is working together and who we have been seeing as trusted and credible.
So I'd like to jump in here. So Spectrum Health Services, we've worked with a number of community schools. We're working with the consortium, which is a mental and behavioral health provider in West Philadelphia. And so you're absolutely right. It is important for us to partner with community groups, service organizations to get to those people in need. And so I've invited people to reach out to me or to any of our points of contact within Spectrum to get us in front of those people who need the vaccine the most.
I'll jump in also and just say that we've been working, Always Best Care has been working with several different organizations. One, I'll split it up, for the providers, for the home care, adult day, and the different long-term care providers, you might want to look into Pennsylvania Home Care Association. They have been a phenomenal wealth of knowledge in terms of resources, particularly for our caregivers. At points, they've given out even lists of daycare providers that were still open for our caregivers. Let's face it, you know, frontline workers alike still have to work, and everybody doesn't have Big Mama at home. The other organizations that we've been working with is the Lupus Foundation. The Lupus Foundation is still having their virtual walk. The Alzheimer's Association is having their Party in Purple. These are still outreach organizations that still provide ancillary services for those folks that need that help. Those marquee events that are kind of doing the fundraiser and their call to action, they haven't been able to do them in person, but they are still doing them virtually, and people still do look for them for different services. So the Lupus walk, you can go to lupus, tristatelupus.org, and you can go to alz.org to find out more information about the Alzheimer's Association. These organizations are still having their marquee events. They're just virtual, and those are services, you know, COVID didn't stop that. It's just they changed it in terms of just having virtual situations. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to answer that question, or can we move on? Because I have a few more questions for you before we have to wrap this up. And we also have to thank WURD Radio for creating these spaces, because many of the questions that I have asked you are coming from the audience, literally reading them. Someone just asked, Joseph Simmons, can the experts please address the B117 variant that is infecting the young children in the Midwestern states of the United States? Is anyone aware of this? Dr. Sealy, Dr. Karen? No, so no one here is aware of that B117. All right, all right. Here's another question that I have for you, Ms. Rouse. More than 95% of all deaths related to COVID-19 has been amongst the 50-plus population. What is AARP doing to educate older Pennsylvanians about the vaccine and how to protect themselves and their families?
Thank you so much, Andrea. That is so very important. We know that the number of deaths, especially as we heard earlier on last year, you couldn't turn on the television station without hearing the record number of deaths that were hitting our long-term care facilities and nursing homes. It was just so devastating. And it's a national disgrace that hundreds of thousands of nursing home residents and staff have died from COVID-19. And as we dig deeper into the data, who were those staff? At these facilities, a record number were from our Black and Brown communities throughout this country, and we know that older Americans, and the staff in these facilities must be prioritized. And we worked long and hard with the previous administration and the current administration, as well as the governor and his administration, to make sure that these priorities exist. We've been advocating for greater transparencies on case data for nursing homes and other long-term care facilities. And we've also advocated for greater testing of residents for the nursing home facilities, long-term care, and the staff. I've been on the phone constantly with our members of Congress throughout this time, and you can still hear that there is not enough PPE. And it's just mind-blowing that we're still having these conversations, that we have to make sure that there's adequate supply reaching the populations. We have to make sure that there's adequate funding reaching the populations as well to help in the mitigation efforts. So there's still so much work left to be done. Our members are also telling us like, oh, I have COVID-19 fatigue, and we get that and we hear that. Well, we just have to say, keep implementing those CDC guidelines that you know so well right now: social distance, wearing your mask, hand sanitizing, washing of your hands. Those are the best ways right now to help lower the spread. I have twins, and they're teens, and they want to go out and do spring break. And, I can't turn on my TV every night without hearing rising rates of COVID-19 from spring breakers. And I just want people to be educated, to listen, to learn, and to help us with mitigation efforts as we move forward.
So if anyone else would like to jump in here, because you heard me say at the beginning of the show that I had to get on a plane to go and see my parents. And what I saw in the airports was alarming to me. Folks were not wearing their masks properly. The airlines have been consistently doing a public service announcements about, wearing your mask. And if you don't, there are federal laws, you will be impacted. People are touching all the surfaces that they should be wiping and just picking up their food and eating after touching the surfaces. I still saw someone walk in the bathroom and walk out without washing their hands. And so when we talk about this, and knowing that Black and Brown communities are impacted more often, and especially our older, vulnerable population, all of you can agree, right? We have the comorbidities, we have the older, vulnerable population. How can we make sure that our family members are safe from the younger ones who are footloose and fancy free and think this is much ado about nothing? Seriously, right? How can we make sure that our older family members are the more vulnerable ones who have the comorbidities are safe? And then someone asked about the red protein. They're still not sure what a red protein is. So is there another way that we can break that down to a simpler fraction so that folks can understand what the red protein is?
Sure. When I talk about that red protein, I'm talking about that picture that's been all over the media, all over the pictures, the internet. The best way to describe it is to Google COVID virus, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. They have it colored in red. I'm sure it's not red in real life, but they have it colored in red. So I would just suggest, if you haven't seen it, if somehow you've missed it, just Google COVID and you'll see those red proteins just sticking out all over this big circle ball. Mm-hmm. I remember a toy when I was a little kid. It was a ball with all these little spikes on it. Those little spikes are what we need, is the red protein. That's what I'm talking about there. And how do we keep our older people from, the young people who think it's no big deal? I think it's just important to continue to remind people to stay the course. We are almost there. The finish line is in sight. Stay the course, continue to wash your hands, wear your mask, even after you've been vaccinated. I was just telling some folks the other day, I don't know if I'll ever be comfortable going out without my mask on. It's like a part of me now. It's like going outside without my earrings on. Like it's part of what we do. I'm sure at some point, maybe 20 years down the road, I'll be okay. But it's okay to still be uncomfortable. It's okay to still want to wear your mask. And we recommend that you do it anyway. And be smart. I understand people are tired. I'm tired too. We're all tired. The healthcare system is tired. But we are not there yet. We are getting there, but we're not there yet. And so stay the course, do all those things that you should do, and just be smart.
So believe it or not, we have 3 minutes left before this segment is over. We have covered it out. Yes, that's the good thing about moderating and co-moderating, that we made it work so well. But I have one last question from a caller who called into the studios. How long are you covered after taking the Moderna or Johnson & Johnson or Pfizer vaccine? Do we know the efficacy yet of these vaccines? And is anyone able to answer that question?
Think we know an exact number because it's been developed over the last year, right? Mm-hmm. So it's been tested for some months, and then now we're on the back end to try to observe how long this really lasts. So I think it's ongoing. I mean, I hear things about 6 to 8 months. We don't really know right now. We just don't have enough data. I wish we did. But because this is a global pandemic that has killed so many people, I would say the best thing to do is to get vaccinated. Let's worry. We're still working on the back end. Shout out to Kizzy. I'm calling her Kizzy. Yes, I love her. And I know she's working a lot and sleepless nights still. It doesn't matter that we have this vaccine out, but we still have to keep working on the back end to figure all these things out. One thing I just want to quickly say about what you just mentioned is that you were on a plane this weekend, mm-hmm. and I want to say this. Delta canceled 1,000 of their flights. Now, my son is a pilot for JetBlue, and I want to say the industry is not taking it lightly. Yes. Him and his colleagues have all been vaccinated. Mm-hmm. So, I think we have to do our part. There's only so much that so many people will get vaccinated. For those that continue to, practice irresponsible behavior in terms from a public health perspective, please do us all a favor. I mean, just get with it.
Yes. Indeed. Thank you so much. You were just listening to a roundtable discussion around the importance of the vaccine and information for securing the vaccine shot. As one of the only Black-owned talk radio stations remaining in the country, WURD Radio again delivers information to the community while providing corporate entities to directly engage with that community. You were just listening to Angela Forsaw-Rouse, who is our co-moderator, State Community Outreach and Operations for AARP Pennsylvania, Veronica Hill Milbourne from Spectrum Health. She's the RN MSJD President and Chief Executive Officer. Dr. Samira Seeley, who is the lead physician for Cigna. Dr. Sandra Carrington, who is a traveling nurse and doctor of nursing practice. And we have, last but not least, the fabulous Bryant Green from Always Best Home Healthcare, who is the founder and owner. On behalf of all the WURD listening audience, I want to thank you for what was a rich and engaging conversation. And I hope we do this again very soon. Have a good afternoon, all of you. Power to the people. Have a good one. Bye-bye. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
The Germantown Friends School mission begins with a commitment to community and to the belief that academic achievement is in itself not enough. Inspired by Quaker values, GFS encourages students in preschool through grade 12 to see the world as theirs to experience, to understand, to create, and to change. Learn more about the GFS academic, arts, and athletics programs at their upcoming virtual open house, Friday, April 16th, 9 a.m. Register now at germantownfriends.org/admissions.
We are people of resilience, so let's protect our lives with vaccines we can trust. We can do this.
To learn more about COVID-19 vaccines, visit cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, we just had an amazing conversation, a roundtable discussion about the vaccination process, where we were a year ago, where we are today, the misconceptions, the misinformation, where can we find vaccines, what's in the vaccine, how long is the efficacy of the vaccine, and we had just an amazing group of people, dynamic people that were here to talk to us. They just told me to give you their contact information if you would like to contact any of them. Veronica Milbourne is V. Milbourne, that is MILBOURNE, at Spectrum, SPECTRUMHS.org. She was a woman who was the chief executive officer of Spectrum Health, who was talking about the fact that they've done everything that they could to help the most vulnerable population who wouldn't ordinarily go to the doctors. They're taking care of everything for you. Again, that is Veronica Hill Milbourne. Her office number is 215-471-2761, extension 3202. Bryant Green, who also has a show at 4 p.m. on Saturdays right here on WURD Radio, would like you to know that his contact info is 267-679-0482. Again, that's 267-679-0482. And he is B Green at abc-seniors.com. Let me just make sure that I make sure Angela Roos, I'm looking for her thing right here to make sure that I can give it to you. And Sandy Carrington, hold on, there's another. I'm telling you, it's really interesting what we have going on here. Let's see. Sandy Carrington is sandy.carrington, CARRINGTON at Cigna, CIGNA.com. And Dr. Seeley is Samira Seeley, SAMYRA .Seeley@Cigna.com. The one person that I'm looking for in my notes, and I'll give it to you, Angela Forshaw Rouse. Why do I keep calling her Roos? It's the Jamaican in me, I'm telling you. Rouse. Let me just make sure that I have here her information. I have her co-moderator here. I'll find, here's how you can reach Angela Rouse. Her office number is, her assistant, her communications person is Jacqueline Isasi, And her phone number at the office is 267-825-9928. The ultimate goal is to continue to have conversations with these esteemed panel of folks who are consistently in the gap of making sure that we are getting what we need on behalf of our people. So now I'm open for the next half an hour, and here's why. This morning, last week, after talking to all of you about colon health, I went and got a colonoscopy done this morning. It was interesting. I was not put to sleep. I had to go through this whole process of a colonic cleanse, and then they did the colonoscopy. The office that did it was Dr. Blake on Germantown Avenue. Dr. Blake is going to call in at 2:30 to talk about my process. I've given him permission to talk to you all because it is very important. Colon health is incredibly important to all of us. This was my baseline colonoscopy. I've never had one done before, and so instead of just doing the color guard, because it's a process where a lot of people aren't comfortable, right, with getting it done. And so they give you an enema, you go to the doctor, they put you to sleep. Doctors are no longer putting you to sleep depending on where you go. And so it's a process that I want you all to take seriously. The most famous person that we knew that passed away from colon cancer was T'Challa from Black Panther. I can't even remember his name right now because it's escaping me. It's been a long morning. I literally left the doctor's office from my procedure and came and sat in front of the table here. So if you want to call, it's 215-634-8065. I have a little bit of time to talk. Chadwick Boseman, thank you, Michael. See, this is why I love Michael. Michael gets me every time I can't get it together. So that was Chadwick Boseman that died. And so we want to make sure that colon health is important. I am waiting for Dr. Blake to call in so we can have a conversation around this. And I do know there's some other conversation happening on WURD radio where they're giving you the Cologuard kit. It's a small kit. You do your own sample at home and you send it into the lab. And even though I had a colonoscopy done with Dr. Blake, I'm also going to do the Cologuard kit that's being sent to me so that they can test to see if there's cancer in my stools, there's blood in my stool, that kind of stuff. I'm moving right along because, Lord, I'm telling you, it's been a day. But there's some things I wanted to talk to you about. One of them being the Derek Chauvin trial that continues to happen. It's here. This was from the Washington Post that happened, and it was written by Timothy Bella and Kim Belware today. That came out at 12:17 p.m. The trial of Derek Chauvin continued today with Minneapolis Police Lieutenant Johnny Mercil, the use of force coordinator for the department. Hold on, let me take this. I'll take him in a minute. Give me a second. Saying that the neck restraint used by the former officer and George Floyd is considered unauthorized. It would be an act of aggression, Mercil said, of the restraint to prosecutors. Before Mercil, Sergeant Kuryang, coordinator for the Minneapolis Police Department's crisis training model, emphasized that the ultimate goal for officers in responding to such incidents is to find out if they immediately need help. And so, Derek Chauvin, the chief of police from his former department, really had a hard time with him. Okay, so apparently WURD has a Go to Know campaign about preventing colon cancer. I missed those Monday calls, and so there's a link to the initiative on our website. Okay, so if you go to wordradio.com, there's a link to the initiative on the website for the Go to Know campaign about preventing colon cancer. Just like I talked about the coronavirus vaccine and being very open and transparent about it, just like I have been incredibly transparent about my diabetes diagnosis and knocking back my A1C back to normal and have been staying there all year long, just as I have been incredibly transparent about us taking care of our mental health because of all the trauma that we consistently deal with as Black and brown people in our communities. We do know that our colon is very impacted by the stuff that's going on around us, what we eat, what we put into our stomach. When I went to get my initial consultation with Dr. Blake, and believe me, Dr. Blake I paid out of pocket for because he no longer takes insurance, but I felt comfortable. And this is why I'm saying that not all doctors don't matter now, right? And so I had a litany of doctors that I could have chosen, and I chose Dr. Blake's office because when I went in, the people not only looked like me, they paid attention. It was clear that they were listening. And Dr. Blake is on the line. Good afternoon, Dr. Blake. How are you?
Good afternoon, Ms. Andrea Sanders. How you doing?
Well, you know, my colon is clean.
Yes, it is. It is.
And so I
Happy to
wanted,
say.
listen, thank you so much. The WURD Go to Know has a colorectal cancer alliance at ccalliance.org. Go to the WURD website,
Yes.
WURDradio.com, wordradio.com, and really get to know the Go to Know campaign about preventing colon cancer. But Dr. Blake, after my visit with you this morning, I asked you if we could talk because oftentimes people are afraid of what they don't know. Give them a description of what happened when I came to your office this morning for my colonoscopy.
Sure. Well, first I want to thank you for making the decision to come to us, and I'm so pleased that you did come, and that we were able to let you know that with the flexible sigmoidoscopy, which looks at the left side of your colon, where the majority of colon cancer and polyps most likely originate, that you had no issues, and you've already shared that with the audience, so I don't
Actually,
mind
I didn't tell them that yet. I was waiting for you to tell them so they would believe me. My colon is sparkling clean, honey.
Yes.
Not a polyp, no nothing. And can I tell them, Dr. Blake, that part of that was because of the amount of water that I drink, the amount of roughage that I eat, right? So the amount of fiber that I put into my diet, and genetics, right? So let's not, negate the genetics.
You're exactly right. All those things are direct contributors to maintaining a healthy body in general, but most specifically a colon. And fiber is what the colon wants. It could care less about beef or pork or, shell seafood, fish, and other things. The colon really is excited about being given an adequate amount of fiber, fruits and vegetables, and other roughishes on a daily basis. And because the body is so significantly water, it is important for us to replenish our bodies with an adequate amount of water daily, because every activity in our body requires the utilization of water. So we are constantly utilizing water. So if we don't give ourselves an adequate amount daily, then we go into a deficit and certain types of conditions develop, and certain organs are impacted negatively. The colon is one, and equally as important, the kidneys by far. So it's just so important that we get that water in. That's 2 quarts every day. That's 64 ounces. And we like to break it down. That's equivalent to 8 ounces. A measuring cup is 8 ounces, so 8 ounces, or 4 16 ounces. And if you do that, I'm just finishing my second bottle of 16 ounces of water right now. Then I get another 16 ounces in before 4 o'clock. Then I get another 16 ounces in before 8 o'clock, and I'll be done watering my body for the whole day. So you're right. Watering, proper intake of fiber, and even with the mind, we want to work hard to keep our minds balanced in positive thought, and our emotions in the positive, because all that negative impacts the body physically negatively. So, as with WRD being involved with Go to Know, which is extremely important when it comes to the prevention and early detection of colon cancer. And where we are now is, as you mentioned, I'm no longer accepting insurances because being dependent upon insurance as an independent physician leads to the inability to remain in practice independently. And that's why most doctors are now working for insurance companies and or hospitals. And as a result, they're not in independent practice. Now, I've been in practice for 25 years myself and 28 years totally. And for the 25 years that I've been in practice independent for myself, I've been open to help take care of people with no insurances, to give them access so that they could be screened for colon cancer and prevent it. So when I closed down my GI practice and accepted there was a lot of pushback from the working uninsured community because they had no place to go. And that affected me mentally and negatively. And putting a lot of thought into what could I do to return to a position to help prevent people from dying from colon cancer. I realized that the utilization of the flexible sigmoidoscopy in conjunction with a high sensitivity and high specificity stool test, which is the Cologuard, combining those two modalities would enable me to feel comfortable saying that I have screened that individual for colon cancer in a higher level than the colonoscopy with those two things combined together.
Dr. Blake, let me pause you here for a second. Someone wrote on the Facebook page. She said, "What? I went through hell for that colonoscopy with the big jug of not so tasteful laxative to drink, living on the toilet, being put to sleep, and having to have my daughter escort me home. Your experience, Andrea, sounds much more friendlier. Can you talk about that?" That's because someone else just wrote, "I put it off for that same reason."
Awesome. There's 4 obstacles that evidence medicine has shown are major contributors to people dying from colon cancer. The first one is for a colonoscopy, in order to be prepped properly, individuals are required not to eat anything solid for an entire 24 hours. And a lot of people just don't have the willpower to do that. So they end up eating something. And oftentimes it might be not just a little something, but a lot of something. And then they drink the prep, and they struggle to get the prep down. And as you said, the individual put on the Facebook, and they've been on the commode all night long. And then they go in expecting that, okay, I'm going to finally make sure I'm okay. And then at the end of the procedure, and they're awake, they are told that you weren't clean, so we have to bring you back. A lot of people are so irate that they never go back. And then a lot of them later on are now being told that they have colon cancer. And if they had only been able to adhere to that challenge and been clean and had a thorough colonoscopy, maybe, not maybe, they would not have been now dealing with colon cancer in the moment. So with what we're doing right now, we're eliminating 4 obstacles. With the flexible sigmoidoscopy and the Cologuard, you can eat the day before. You don't have to drink the prep. You can prepare yourself simply by doing a couple of enemas at home, or we can give you enemas here if that's what you choose to do. Or we are modifying our colon hydrocleanse that we've used for 9 years to clean the entire colon out for a colonoscopy. We are now working to modify that technique to be just as efficient in preparing you for your flexible sigmoidoscopy. The sedation has been an obstacle for a lot of people who had anxiety and fear about being put to sleep. You don't have to be put to sleep for the flex sig. We can really do without anything, but to ensure that we have as much comfort and balance as possible, we provide you with the option to use the nitric oxides, which in layman's term is called laughing gas. And then the 4th thing, you mentioned that the individual said they had to get their daughter or niece or somebody to drive them home. They had to be off of work to come pick them up. With the flexible sigmoidoscopy and the use of nitric oxide, hey, you drive yourself home. So now those 4 major obstacles, not eating, drinking the prep, fear about being sedated, having to find an escort to drive you home, those 4 things that interfere with so many people from not being able to be screened, we have eliminated those. And even though we have to ask you to pay for it because we don't accept insurances, the cost of it is oftentimes less than what your copay and or your deductible most likely is. So instead of paying that copay or deductible, you pay the minimum fee for the Flex Sig, and we give you a receipt, and you can deal with your insurance company yourself to take care of having that applied to your deductible.
Right. Thank you
that's
so
what we're
much.
doing. So
Yes, Dr. Blake, let folks know how, because I'm going to have to go to break. So let folks know how they can reach you. And just know, for those of you who are listening and watching, there's a Go to Know campaign. Go to wordradio.com. They're talking about for colon cancer screenings. Make sure you go there if you want to know more about it so that we can get as many people tested as possible. It's a simple process for many people. I chose Dr. Blake and the process that I used because this was my very first one. And I wanted to make sure that my colon was clean and healthy, which it is, and I still will do the Cologuard. So tell people how they can reach your office, Dr. Blake.
You can give us a call at 215-849-4902, or you can actually go to our website at www.jsblake and leave information that you're interested in a evaluation, a flex sig, and we will set you up for an appointment. But to go to know, utilizing the FIT test, if that FIT test is positive, it's important for you to have a complete colon evaluation. Of course, the option is a colonoscopy, including the utilization of what the modalities we are now using, the flexible sigmoidoscopy and the Cologuard. And we're here for whether you have insurances, you pay the minimum price, you come in, or if you are working uninsured, you come in, you have access, because a lot of places, if you don't have insurance, you can't get access. So we are in the community, and we are mainly doing gastroenterology from the perspective of helping to prevent colon cancer, identify colon cancer.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Blake. Again, 215-849-4902 or jsblake.com. I'll repeat it again for anybody who needs to know. Thank you so much for a great visit today,
Thank you for having me
Dr. Blake.
Share this.
You're quite welcome. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on wordradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. For all the text messages that I have been getting about the great panel discussion, I want to thank you for letting us know, giving us good feedback on that panel discussion itself. We can see that it absolutely helped you. I appreciate that you were listening and that you took so much from that information. The Go to Know campaign is on wordradio.com. About colorectal health. I just had my colonoscopy done. I chose Dr. Blake for obvious reasons, and we'll talk about that later at another time. When we come back, we'll have some callers on the line. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. We'll be right back after these messages.
Just one more step. You got it.
You're doing great. This is the sound of a nationally ranked top rehabilitation hospital, home to the largest collection of robotics in the United States, where we continually exceed patient expectations, because no injury is too severe or too minor for our care.
There you go.
This is the sound of success. Moss Rehab. Challenge accepted.
The WURD Radio newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting wordradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio, messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio newsletter.
Family Therapy Vignette Moments with Dr. Lucille Ijoy. Maya Angelou said, "A bird doesn't sing because it has an answer. It sings because it has a song." Are you writing your poems and singing your song? Oh, freedom. Remember me. Before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go on home to my Lord and be free. Let there be peace on earth. And how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. And Ray Charles, I can't stop loving you. This is COVID-19, a pandemic time. These are songs and poems that may bring you a little peace and healing. Are you teaching your children to paint, write, explore, and most importantly, to sing their songs? Are you singing your song of inner freedom, your song that helps you feel less angry at yourself and other people? Your song fixes your heart on helping others. Breathe deeply, everybody. Breathe. Sing your song. Let's remember that President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, they participated in a lighting, honoring service for COVID-19 victims. And the president said it's going to be okay. We pray that our tears will be less. It's going to be okay. Let's pray that our tears will be less.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. I have 3 callers, and I'm hoping to get them all in the next 9 minutes. All right, let's start with Rick from Germany. How are you, sir? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ms. Sanders.
Good afternoon, sir.
First of all, I missed your panel. I was busy and I couldn't get back to the phone fast enough. But I had a question for you about this corona, COVID-19, COVID-20, COVID-21. Mm-hmm. Is it true that the vaccine only prevents the individual who takes it from suffering and dying, and that it doesn't prevent the spread of the virus?
I cannot answer that with any kind of. I would have to get. So let me do this for you, Rick. I will ask the doctor and get back to you on that. Can I do that?
Yes, ma'am. And second,
just to be certain. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
And second, I would like to say that Dr. Blake is doing a service by charging, by not dealing with the insurances and dealing with direct cost for the colonoscopy. I've had a number of colonoscopies which have failed to find intestinal parasites, but I've recently learned that endoscopy might be a better option.
Absolutely,
So,
and that is exactly what I went through this morning after a colonic cleanse. I ate until 6:30 last night. I didn't have to do an enema. I didn't have to do any of those things. I went and got my colonic cleanse right there, and then they did the endoscopy. So it was good. It was good for me, and I ended up with a real nice clean colon. But thank you so much for calling, Rick. I appreciate hearing from you.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right, Prince, how are you, sir? And then I have Woody.
Okay. So how was your day so far? Let's start.
You know, Prince, one of the things that I am someone who believes in appreciating people and the work that they bring to the table. I believe in praising folks for the good that they do, and I believe in not nitpicking on folks for little things, right? And so sometimes I have to take a deep breath around that, because a lot of work goes into what we do in our daily lives. We don't just get up and breathe and everything just falls into place. And it takes a certain amount of skill and talent to do what we do, right? So I'm a little irritated, but we're going to work it out. I've got you all in the air, and I love you all to pieces. And I've got some other irons in the fire. What's going on, sir?
Well, my mom said, she's always tell us, don't major in the minors.
Come on now. Come on. And that's the thing.
I got 2 things for you, and I'm going to be real brief because I would like, the other calls to get on. So I say 38, 27, 20. So that's not like the song, see the brick house. That's 38 bullets in Cal Park. That's 27 bullets in Old City. 27 bullets in Feasterville and 20 bullets in Old City. All those bullets hit their targets, but the rest of those bullets was open game for anybody else in the city. And if that's not a severe problem, we just had a young lady on the other day whose sister died from bullets. And so we keep holding on to a police chief that doesn't have a clue. And the problem is that it's too late to fire her when it's too late. You can cut your costs now, and this summer won't fall in her lap, because right now everything's going to fall in her lap, even this murder.
But let me ask you this, Prince. When she entered as police chief, she entered into a city that was already in crisis. Did we take that into account?
No, that's not true. We was entered into a COVID situation. She's never experienced that, but everybody in radio and in TV who benefit from the propaganda say a city in crisis, because the more it stay in crisis, the more news media you get.
Right,
There's still communities out here. There's still people who live in these communities. I've heard politicians talking about grandmoms won't walk the streets now. Well, how come you ain't walking the streets with her? Because, oh, I'm sorry, they shoot a block away from a politician's office, in Nicetown, you got Cindy Bass' office, you got Senator Cerise Chief's office, and you got NAACP, and you still got gun shootings in that environment. So help me with that, Kate. Help me with that right there. And to my last point, you can't, in 10 years, you're not going to have to worry about the violence. Because if you're moving 125,000 houses, virtual, invisible buyers through the internet, you times that time the rest of this year, that's 1.5 million vacant houses and neighborhoods that's going to get purchased. And I call them invisible buyers because you don't know, we don't know. And I understand technology has you do things differently. But the question is, if I bought 100,000 houses in West Philadelphia, and I'm from Jamaica, or I'm from Vietnamese, or I'm from China, I am going to change the demographic and the culture of the environment because I own the real estate. All I'm saying is that when you say technology is a benefit to us, find out how it sustains us as a people in Philadelphia. That's all I'm asking. I'm not fighting you because of the technology. I'm just saying, as soon as you let them buy up all the abandoned houses, then don't come to me talking about gentrification. If you said that these houses have set too long and we can get value for them, then you need to come out and tell me that. You need to come out and tell me that. But you don't need to have me have invisible buyers. And this is not personal. This is not. Come out and explain it to me as the taxpaying resident. Let me move to Florida now if that's what you're going to do. Oh, I'm sorry. Because us that was in public housing, all we need to do is stay in public housing and keep our mouth shut. I remember that white lady telling LeBron James, just play basketball and don't say nothing.
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
People get sensitive when you say something. We're asking a question. We're asking, how do you move 125,000 houses? Where are you moving them at? Surely this is not happening in the Northeast. And if it's going to affect us, allow us to move. Leave. Give us the benefit to do that.
So, Prince, I'm going to come back and have this conversation because I have a friend who is in banking who was talking just about all this stuff, who said, see all those houses, where are those people going? Where are those people going that they're pushing out? But I got to take Woody and then,
Okay,
but thank you, my brother. We'll talk soon, okay?
That's my soapbox. I'll talk with you later. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir. All right, bye-bye. Kitora Dior, thank you so much. Kitora wrote on Facebook, she said, my mom and I listen to you always and keep WURD up and running all daily in our home. You were such a powerhouse, and your review and assessment of so many issues are astounding. You were so appreciated. That for riding your bike for miles too. Thank you so much, Kitora. Look, I've always been unapologetic about our people and making sure that we get what we need. Woody, how are you, sir?
Well, I wish you would make sure I get what I need, because I needed to talk to you.
Hey,
and
Woody.
I know the time I get on, it's time to go, and you already know who loves
so
you.
Woody, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my break. I'm going to take my break right now. Hang on, and then you and I can talk for a few minutes. Can you do that? All right, hold on. You are listening to The Source. My husband's going to find Woody. 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Okay, Her's new fire potato chips and cheese curls, they are spicy. Whew, they're hottest snacks yet. Hold on. Whew. But you know, it's not just heat. There's some nice sweet and savory stuff going on too. Ooh, there's that heat again. It burns, but it burns so tasty. Ooh, that's hot. Find Her's Fire Snacks at your store today. Whew. Taste the flavor, feel the heat, break out the Her's.
Want the latest in WURD swag? Check out the shop tab on WURDradio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on WURDradio.com. Show the world that you're all about black. Talk Media.
We are people of resilience, so let's protect our lives with vaccines we can trust. We can do this.
To learn more about COVID-19 vaccines, visit cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
This is WURD Radio. 96.1 FM. And 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black. Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. I'm telling you, I think I lost a few pounds. My ring just slid right off. Before we get into our next panel discussion of the day, I have Woody on the line, and I also have Brother Hurt from North Philly. All right, Woody, it's your turn. What's going on, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I'm not going to hold you long. I just wanted to remind you who loves you, and so that you understand that in the process of what Dr. Blake was saying, I wanted you to realize that the hormones from your brain, those feelings and emotions that you have, you have to keep them in control, because a lot of times that is what can cause sickness of any type. So I always try to say positive energy is a negative energy deterrent, and that energy is energy is energy. How we direct that energy becomes directed toward us, and it'll make you or break you. The old folks used to say, you know, if you look back and say, what caused the problem? Why do we have all this cancer? Where is it coming from? See, these are questions that we need to ask ourselves. When I heard you say that you went on your vacation and took a trip to see your mom, you had somewhere to go to. Me, back to the child of former chattel slaves living in America, non-immigrant, I don't have anywhere else to go but right here.
Woody, can I tell you something? I wrote an article today called The Caste Within Us, Amongst Us. That's going to be published this weekend, that I'm going to send to you personally, because you were the impetus behind my fully addressing what's happening between the immigrants from other parts of the world, black and brown immigrants, and the children of enslaved Africans. Yes.
Don't forget to say the word chattel.
And in doing my research, I ended up writing, was well over 1,000 words. I had to pare it down a little bit, but you literally, every time I think about this discussion and get on panel discussions about this now, I think of the conversation that you began with me a year ago and how much I have learned from you since then. So who loves you, baby?
Well, I know you do. One last thing I'm going to say so you can get your other person on is that I traveled with you when you went out to see your people in Jamaica. And I heard you talk about the yard and how you went out and you picked certain types of herbs and fruits and vegetables and things like that. These were wonderful things in times of a culture that you were brought up in, which made you free. Those who are born with epigenetics are not free in their own inner guts. So when you talk about the gut, you know, the immune system takes 80% inside where in your body? Your colon, your gut. That's where it's at. So you got to remember, if you're going to heal, the immune system is what helps to heal you. So positive thinking plays a big, big role. So I rode with you, even though you didn't know it, and I enjoyed every bit of what you were saying, because I listened to your spirit and what you were saying about how much you loved that place that made you who you are today.
And my family, I really went to see them because they had gotten their second vaccine, and I wanted to make sure they were okay. But the thought of walking in the backyard, I actually took some video and put on Facebook to show my father speaking to me in Patois as we were picking gungo peas off the tree, and then we sat down and shelled the gungo peas, me and him and Mommy, and we sat and we talked. That did more for my soul. I cannot stand negativity and negative people who never see anything positive in the things that we do, that are always, and so that's why my gut health is so good, because I block it. I tell people what's exactly on my mind, and I keep it moving. We've got to stop with the foolishness and get it together and grow up and really grow up. Thank you so much, Woody. I appreciate you, man. All right. All right. Bye-bye. So let me see who I have. I know I have guests in the waiting room. If you can hear me talking, I see you there. Just hold on. Let me take you quickly. Oh, Lord, so much going on here. Brother Hurt from North Philly, are you there?
Yes, I'm right here. How you doing?
I'm good, sir. What's going on?
Okay, I got a couple of things. Number one, in the morning, drink your lemon water, right? Try to eat some spinach every day, your apples. And at night, drink the apple cider before you go to sleep, and stay positive. You got to put some greens in your body every day if you can, and then stay positive. Now, about Mrs. Outlaw, right? Let me tell you something. That lady doing the best she can do. You know what I mean? They was killing people before she came, and they're going to kill people before she left. I hope not. I'm just saying that. Everybody, I'm not throwing her under the bus, because she got a lot to work with. My thing is this, check your sons, check the people living in your house with these guns. Somebody knows the guns in your house. It's just that simple. Then you got to stay prayed up. Amen. Have a blessed day.
You too, sir. All right. Thank you, sir. I love it. See, the Brother Hurt came on and he was on for a minute. I love it. George from Center City, you're my last call, and then I'm going to take my guests on. What's going on, sir?
It's a lot going on, Andrea.
Listen, you know what I love about Woody? All Woody got to do is go up to the prison and start tutoring, teaching them. Start right there, because most of them up there don't know how to read, write, or understand. And then our other people, persuasion, wouldn't have to be so much of hearing how illiterate our people are, you know. It's a real.
But George, we don't have to go into the prisons to find that. We're seeing a lot of miseducation of our young people, and not just in the cities. It's happening in the suburbs. It's happening everywhere. We just have to be more
absolutely
vigilant.
Right. But, you know, 3 days a week for the last 8-9 years, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you'd be surprised how many people that don't know how to write their name in cursive or print. I pay out of my pocket. I have tutors to do that. Teach kids and adults how to, you know, just write their name. How to all the other stuff, reading and all that, that comes after they learn how to write and understand. But you have to start somewhere, you know, and just a bit of advice to Woody, if you want the administration to do something, or people to give you an office of chattel slavery or whatever it is you want, you have to be out there making an effort of showing what you want to do. You just can't keep saying it and don't do anything. You got to like say, okay, I'm putting my work in, and what are you going to do to help? Because other than that, they just laugh at you and like, really, here we go again. You know, and they listen. You'd be surprised at the people who listen to this show, and they draw down what's important and what's not. They just blow it off like, yeah, okay, just another hit job. But you got to, if you want something, you have to do it. Let me say this, Andrea. If they shot up where the mayor live at, what do you think they think about anywhere else?
Right.
I mean, whole city, the mayor lives there, and it's very exclusive, very expensive, which they're not going to tolerate that. Trust me. You know, they got people coming in here. It's like a big fight now. You got some of these guys that's like really running up and trying to run these guys with these gun houses, but they can't win. You know, they all thinking that they ain't paying and they selling them guns in our neighborhood. Okay, they selling them in there because that's the way it's been set up for a while, and ain't nobody. The best stage artist there is Josh Shapiro. They always staging like they busting this and busting that. But you have a police commissioner here don't even have enough sense to try to stage something because they, for whatever reason, they don't go in them. They do not go in those gun houses. When the last time you ever heard of a gun house getting raided? You haven't. When the last time you ever heard of them going in there knowing, but most of the guns in there, they give you the 2 screws and say, here, the ghost guns, they say, look, just put the screws in here. And usually they let them hold a drill and go right in their car or whatever and do it. I mean, that's how simple it is. And they don't do anything whatsoever about it. Nothing. And then people say, well, you shouldn't be jumping on her. She's a black woman and this and that. Yeah, but she's an unqualified black woman. That's what the mayor asked for, because that's what they never pressed the issue. They said they wanted a black woman to be police commissioner. They never added the part of we want a qualified person or a qualified black woman. Look at Parker. She was a white woman, and she was doing more in that little bit of time that she was there than the whole period of time that this commissioner been here. The deputy commissioner who was acting commissioner, look at the time she was commissioner, acting commissioner, and look at the whole general time that this commissioner, and there's no comparison. She had a hold on everything. Why? Because she got 25 or 30 years of being the inspector of the streets. She knew what was going on. She knew who all the players were. You don't know who the players are and who's doing what, then what good are you? I think that she got her pension, she should go.
Thank you so much, George. I got to get to my guest, but thank you so much for always calling in and giving your opinion. I fully appreciate it. All right, Michael, let them in for me, please. Here are my next guests, and God bless America, because I love the young people, and they're the ones that keep me going. Franklin Muniz and Nathaniel McCoy are the academic advisors and program coordinators for LULAC, LNESC, Upward Bound Math and Science. We now have 6 students that are going to join us. I'm going to look at their faces in a minute. Mute yourselves as you come on, please. Thank you. Christian Diaz, rugby superstar with stellar academic achievements, junior from, I believe this is Kensington High School. Sanai Bay, individual who wants to be the generational changer in her family and community, sophomore from KHS. Luis Rodriguez, passion is how to give back to the community via music, junior from Edison High School. Anthony Payne, music is more than just a passion, it's a lifestyle, junior from K Kappa. K Kappa. Madeline Perez, I want to make my family proud, so I give my best. Sophomore from K Kappa. And Juan Delgado, I give the best of me because I love good vibes. Junior from KHSA. Let me look at your beautiful faces. Yes! Yeah! Marva can take the children all day, every day. Look at you! Oh. Give me a minute, Franklin. Hello, Mr. McCoy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Where are the rest of the students?
They may be logging on shortly.
Okay.
They have the link.
Okay, they have the link. Tell them. Listen, so I don't have Madeline. Did I say your name when I was mentioned? I did. Okay.
Yeah.
Good afternoon to you and Juan. Tell me a little bit about the upward bound. I'll talk to you, Franklin. Like, you know, when I see the young people, you know, Marva just gets really excited about the babies. Okay. So tell me about the upward bound program and what's happening with you there and why do you like it so much? Let me start with you, Madeline. Ladies first. All right, Juan? Is that all right? Okay. All right. Look at that hair. Look at that hair.
It's great. There's always opportunities and there's always help. They always make you feel welcomed and, you know, it's great.
So how did you get involved in the Upward Bound program, Madeline?
They come to your school and they, they help you out and, yeah.
So, all right, so let me share this with you. You are in a really cool space. When I tell you I love young people, do not be nervous. Take your time. Speak to me the way you would speak to Franklin or Nathaniel, Mr. McCoy or Mr. Muniz. Talk to me like that. Well, I am a super cool old woman. So tell me how you got involved with the Upward Bound program.
So they come to your school and they obviously explain what the program is. And I got involved because I knew that, you know, high school can be hard and they give us opportunities and chances, and I needed obviously help with the homework and all that. So yeah.
And how long have you been a part of the Upward Bound program?
Since freshman year.
So you're a sophomore now. So it's been a little bit over a year for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Juan, Mr. Delgado, tell me how you got involved. Thank you, Madeline. How did you get involved, Mr. Delgado?
Well, the Upward Bound program kind of sets up on the first day of school, which gives a lot of students kind of the time to catch them in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't catch them in the moment, but I did meet them through a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I kind of just got on the level with Franklin, the more I felt it was more than just a program. I felt more like it was a family, you know?
Mm.
A lot of them kind of just were there for you.
Mm-hmm.
The more time you spend with them, the more comfortable it feels, the more, you know, deep it gets.
How long have you been a part of the Upward Bound program?
Since freshman year.
Since freshman year too. So let me tell you what your new slogan is, Franklin. More than a program, they are a family. That stuck to me. And if you use it, give the child some coins. Because he came up with it. So, Mr. McCoy, this is your first time meeting me. Please forgive me. Franklin is very accustomed to me. I love young people. So when I get an opportunity to talk to them about what's going on in school, oftentimes we hear of what's wrong in Philadelphia. We hear so much bad news. They can't read, they can't do this, they can't do that. And yet I have been able to locate young people who are not only doing well in schools, there are programs that are exciting them and getting them to a place where they can excel despite what's going on around them. So talk a little bit about yourself and how are you involved in the program itself?
So I work hand in hand with with Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
So Franklin runs UBMS, I run UB, which is Upward Bound, I'm sorry. And I actually am an alumni of the program.
Really?
So when the opportunity presented itself to work for Upward Bound, I definitely jumped on it. it made a huge difference in my life. And I only have a hoodie on today because I'm trying to.
My husband would be so happy. My husband went to Cheney. That was his first college degree. Yes. Oh.
So my upward bound academic advisor when I was in high school, and I joined this summer after my freshman year. She, we got to know each other for years and years and years. And then she's like, I want you to apply to my alma mater, Cheney University. And I was like, sure, whatever. I'll do it. It's free. I'll fill out whatever. So I did it. And then lo and behold, it ended up being a university that I went with. So as soon as when I got the job, I reached out to her and I told her, thank you for everything you've done. And, now I just want to pay it forward. So now that's what I've been spending my time doing, just trying to pay it forward and do what was done for me, do for others.
What has Upward Bound meant for you, Mr. McCoy? I mean, you went to college and graduated from college going through Upward Bound.
Yeah, Upward Bound, it meant a lot. I have lifelong friends that I met through Upward Bound, which is an aspect of the program that I think is very underrated. Because when you're a student and you're a potential first generation college graduate, the people you surround yourself with means a lot. So it helped me make good friends, the right friends. It also helped me obviously choose my university, but also I was raised in a beautiful family. Both my parents are around. We did okay financially. But when it came time for me to go to college, neither of my parents went to college. So when I needed that extra support and kind of how to do this and how to do that, just those little random questions and the internships. And I know Franklin talked about it in the interview last week. We stick with them for 6 years after they graduate high school. And that's kind of where Upward Bound stood in the gap for me. It allowed me to not have all those disadvantages that a lot of our first generation college goers have. When we speak about breaking generational curses and things like that, like I know some of our students have said.
So Madeline, are you planning to go to college or are you going to do something vocational? What are you planning to do after you graduate from high school?
I'm not sure yet, but I do want to start looking for colleges that deals with veterinary medicine.
Okay. Do you have mentors for them in their field of choice that would kind of help them move forward, Franklin? I'm asking this question on purpose because I worked with the program for over 15 years, really was there at the inception of the program. And what we did was each time a young person said they wanted to become a lawyer or a veterinarian or a judge, or we found mentors that was in that field that stuck with them through high school all the way into college. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, that makes tremendous sense. My goal, this is what I do. There's always room for growth, like I mentioned before. I never close the door on how many mentorships. I never close the door because every experience is different. So if I link up my students with the best mentors that I possibly can find, so like that they could have that resource, have that connection and promote it. And if you know anyone or if there's any connections, of course I would utilize them because there's always room for growth. And I'm not too proud to say, you know what I mean, that I don't.
Do you see Mother's face? I know everybody in Jesus. And as soon as she said veterinarian school, I'm like, okay, I got a couple of doctors, got a couple of nurses, you want to talk to people who are in the medical field.
Yes.
And you also want to think about, Madeline, and this is just, so I dream big for my young people, right? You also want to think about traveling abroad for a student program around learning how to work with animals in different countries and get into the medicine there. Have you ever thought about that, Madeline?
I haven't, but
hang with Martha. I will have you traveling the world on a dime. So you want to look up internships where you can travel. You can go to Puerto Rico, you can go to Jamaica, you can go where they have the veterinarian schools. And in the islands, going to medical school is vastly different from going to medical school here. You want to learn how the process is there so that when you come back here, you can figure out what you want to do. We know children from the United States of America who go to the islands to go to medical school because the process is It's rigorous as all get out, but you become a doctor by the time you're 23, like nobody's business. So you're going through the practicum, which is the lessons and going through the classes, but you're also in getting the hands-on work. So I want you to think outside the box, think outside of where you live right now. And I want you to get a big board, and I want you to sit down and write about what's the biggest dream I can have about becoming a veterinarian, and what does that look like? Because there are countries who will take internships of students who want to work within their schools. See how I dream bigly? I'm dreaming big for you.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I see you. I see you.
Love the young people. Y'all the young people. So Juan, what you want to do, honey?
I'm still kind of figuring that out, but the best part about this program is that they help you through that. They constantly give you programs in order for you to tell like which one you want to do. They constantly check up on you in school as well, fitting in your schedule. So you're never really missing class, but at the same time, you're getting extra help while trying to figure out what you want to do for the future. So they've kind of helped me go through it, and I asked them to look for programs for me considering engineering. I don't know what type of engineering, but I've been looking at mechanical engineering.
No, my husband's about to text me. Let me tell you why, Juan. So Cheney was his first university. He then went on to get 3 masters at GW, George Washington. I married a whole nerd, like a whole nerd. And everything is robotics in this house. I mean, if he could turn himself into a robot to figure out what he wanted to do. So he does the mechanical engineering, he does all of it. And so here's my next question for you, Juan. See, those other 4 students who didn't get on, you just never know where the opportunities are going to pop up. Have you been working on, do you have kits that at the school, Franklin, that can help them with the robotics pieces of it? Because my husband and I donate robotic kits to young people who are interested, and he's specifically interested in people of color to donate those kits too. He'll go buy them and donate them. And I know he's texting me, right? I'm surprised. He must be in a meeting somewhere. So do you have kits at school, or are they in a robotic program? If you're going to go into engineering, you have a program there that'll help them to move forward in that process.
So we do. In our office, we always have like kits that we could send out. But since we've been obviously right now with COVID, it's been difficult to, but we'll order it. We'll send it to them. We'll supply our kids with the kits, different kits. It's also one thing that I wanted to work on is having a group of students work on certain kits and have someone teaching them through that process of building.
I'm going to send him, Franklin, you're going to email me, and I'm sending my husband straight to you. He retires on Thursday.
Okay.
When I say did you see that? Did you see that, Mr. McCoy? I'm sending, because what I said to him, what you're not going to do is sit around here looking cute and me. Well, so, and he's always said he wanted to work with young people, specifically young people of color, because he believes it is the gateway, right? The engineering, the math, the sciences, the engineering as a gateway, because everything is becoming robotics now, right? So Juan, let's see what we can do to support you as you're moving forward. Now, Juan, I have another question for you. Who is your biggest influencer? And I'm asking you that because you carry a presence that is undeniable, young man. So who is your biggest influence? I tell you, listen, I've been around for a while now. Who's your biggest influencer?
Jeez, that's a big question. A lot of people play different roles in my life, and I like to think of them all as a positive role, but I'd like to say that I'm myself my big influencer, because after all, I'm the one doing this. And I can choose whether or not I'm stopping or whether I'm going. And the fact that I'm going is actually amazing to me.
I'm about to turn around in my chair 4 times. I'm about to spin 4 times in my chair. Listen, I'm going to take a quick break and then we come back. Madeline and Juan, I want you to explain to people, because we're hearing so much in Philadelphia about the violence. Young people are losing their lives at an alarming rate. What do you think it will take to get people, young people, on the straight, quote unquote, straight and narrow? What are we missing as adults? right? What do we need to know? Because we talk a whole mean game and we don't know half the lingo that you use anyway. And you talk circles around us. So what is it that we need to know? And then tell us how we can support you. I'm going to take a quick break, okay? Hold on. And find the Mother 4 students, please. Tell them don't play with Mother. Come on up here. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Every day brings an opportunity to connect to your community and one another. With AARP, you can connect without ever leaving home. Just click, and you're at a movie watch party with other fans, chatting in an online book club, or drinking a cup of joe with fellow family caregivers. Connections like these remind us that community is more than just where we live. With virtual offerings available here in Philadelphia, you can click to connect at aarp.org/nearyou.
COVID vaccines are here, and Black physicians and scientists helped to develop them. So I feel good about getting the vaccine. And with new forms of the virus now spreading, I know we need to keep up everything we're already doing. Masking up, keeping that 6-foot distance, and avoiding crowds. COVID's been doubly tough on us, so let's double down to take it down. We can do this. Learn more about getting the vaccine and slowing the spread at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
This is not a fad for us. We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are undeniably, indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media. WURD.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you are just joining us, I have on the line program directors and students from the Upward Bound Math and Science and the Upward Bound program from several high schools in Philadelphia. I someone just asked, let me just write this. Ivy said, I love this program. My daughter is 13 and wants to be a veterinarian too, like Madeline. We live in South Jersey. Can she participate in the program too? So Mr. McCoy, can you answer that question for us, please?
Yes, so the program is open to anyone in America, essentially, right? So, excuse me. So all they have to do is search and look for the closest Upward Bound program to them. I would tell them to look at any university or college or potentially community college in their area, and they should be able to find an Upward Bound program.
Did you hear that, Ivy? They say if you just Google Upward Bound and you'll find them. They're all around the country. So you just find the one closest to you, right? Lucy Lusand says, it's beautiful to see young people in a positive life. We have a bunch of positive young people that just want to live and be great in this world. And that is why I consistently highlight all of you. So Juan and Madeline, what do you think it will take for us to, first of all, acknowledge that there's something that we're missing as adults? What do you think is happening in the community? Why so many young people are dying around us? Madeline, I'll ask you first. Hold on, Juan.
Honestly don't know, because in Philadelphia there's a lot of violence and a lot of people just going in the wrong path. And all we could do is really just listen and try to give as much help and advice as we can, really, because, you know, there's some people that just don't want that help or don't want to be helped, but there's some people that do.
Right.
So all we could do is just lend that helping hand.
And so what can we do? What can we, the adults, do to support you all because you're doing positive things. You're in school, you're seeing all the stuff that's happening around you, yet you remain positive and you're in a program that's helping you to move forward, that you can decide that you want to become a veterinarian. What can we, the adults in the community, do to support not just you, but the students who seem to be at a loss for hope, can't figure out what they want to do next with their lives? What are we missing, Madeline? Okay, you're at a loss for words. Okay,
Yeah.
Juan, help Madeline out, Juan.
I've actually been asked this question twice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think it's just empathy in general. You know, you never know what someone could be going through. You never know what their life is heading, where they're going, if they're at rock bottom or if they're at the best day of their life. You know, I think it's all about just thinking what position they're in and just respecting their goals. You know, there's also this quote I really like. It said, if you're unaware of the history in the past, it's bound to repeat. So if us as a generation, when we have kids, kind of remember everything that's going on right now, this pandemic, these Black Lives Matter protests, all these, and kind of induct them into our parenting skills, I think maybe a lot of lives can be saved.
Absolutely. What will you tell your children years from now about this time that you've been in?
My experiences, what it's like living in this pandemic, not being able to leave your house because of this virus, or sometimes even before the virus you couldn't even leave because of gun violence or just crazy crimes. You know, the crime rates have been up recently too. So it's going to be hard kind of sharing that with a lot of people in the future.
Do you think your parents or your guardians tell you enough about real life stuff, or do you think they shield you from it? Or do you think they tell you too much?
I think my parents kind of understand where I'm coming from, but they don't want me to be kind of on focus with that right now. They kind of just want me to just provide for myself, and then in the future kind of take the time to do what you want. But they always kind of tell me, put you at first, like put yourself first.
Yeah, your parents sound like how my my ex-husband and I raised our boys, which is do what you need to do now so you can do what you want to do later. Right? And so we got them focused. They made it through high school, made it through college, both of them. They're 25 and 29 now. I just saw them this past weekend. They were all grown men and having the kinds of conversations that we're talking about, Juan, you know, and developing a strategy, because they have already seen that being a black man in this country is not the easiest thing for them, but they don't focus on it to the detriment of themselves, right? They think about how can we move forward and make sure that our offspring that's coming behind us at some point, I'd really love offspring at some point, because, you know, all I see are dogs right now. They just keep adopting these dogs. And I'm like, at some point I need to see some offsprings in these Wakandan streets. But, you know, where do we go from here? This has not been easy, Franklin and Nathaniel, right? To keep these young people on the straight and narrow, considering everything that's happening around them. I interviewed the family members of a 24-year-old that was shot and killed in front of her parents' house, had just gotten her master's degree, working on her PhD, had a whole life ahead of her. That happened on March 12th. I interviewed another woman who was knew the young little boy that was riding his bicycle at 11 years old down the street when he was shot and randomly killed. Interviewed the family members of the 15-year-old Antonia Walker Jr. And I mean, we could interview them over and again. And I refuse to just call them numbers. You know, I refuse to say, you know, such and such. I literally, I'm humanizing these folks so that people see these children. It used to be a time when women and children were off limits and that people would settle their beefs like gentlemen, right? We weren't shooting and killing each other. Now social media has become the thing, right? Where you talk a whole bunch of smack, and then when you see each other, it's boom, right? How are you navigating all that these young people have to go through and remaining relevant with them, right? So that they continue to stay and do what they're doing with Upward Bound.
Nate, you want me to take this one first, and then you got it after?
You got it.
All right. I think that one of the unique things that I focus on, and I think Nate and I, we have so much in common. I think that Nate's best friend through Upward Bound is me. So I'll be honest with that. That's a brother of mine right there. But I think that's something that we definitely focus on is that we try to teach our kids, and Huang and Madeline can probably speak about this. We try to teach our students that because of the uniqueness of your path, you will never be common in your associations. And you have to understand that, because we're living at a time where it's, if you stand for something, you may offend others or someone else, but you're unique. For example, the fact that Madeline and Juan are both on here on the radio station, seizing the opportunity, that speaks to their uniqueness. And that, for me, lets them know you will never be common in your association. And that is okay. That is okay. And this is you seizing that. And I think that one thing that Nate and I really try to focus on is embracing their uniqueness.
Yes.
Not only just academically, but as a person, in their character, and also within their family realm. Because a lot of the students that we meet, when we meet their guardians, they're very different. It could be sometimes that the guardian is more stricter than the student. And sometimes I see that the student has more stricter characteristics than what the parent does. But you know what? That is okay.
Right.
And we embrace that because of the uniqueness of your path. You will never be common in your association. And we teach them that they have to accept that of themselves, because their uniqueness is the gift that God has given them for this world and to serve others. And that's really something that I carry with me, and I share that and I move it forward, because I know what my mother had to go through when we were in this country as foreigners. So it's just like, no, to embrace that uniqueness, especially when the uniqueness is something that is positive. I understand if it was a uniqueness that was negative. See, well, one thing that I'm big on, I'm huge in disabling disabilities and enabling abilities. That is something that I am huge at. That is something that I totally focus in. And like I tell my students, that's why I love to keep it hot with them. Honest, open, and transparent. They know that Franklin is hot, and I just don't mean, the swag. All I'm saying is honest, open, and transparent. And I think that's really something that I love for my students to know that, each and every one of them, and kind of continue pressing them forward. And I love to be the one that provides for them resources and allow them to do something with the resource. I can't do the resource for you, and no, I would be disabling you.
Right.
I can't do that. And I believe that allows me to stay relevant, because it allows me to hold myself accountable to teaching them, you have to be accountable. I'm accountable, you have to be. Don't be accountable because I am accountable. No. I'm accountable for me and the things I do. Because I want you to know how to survive without me. I want you how to learn and live without me. In my absence, I want you to be prepared enough. I mean, for me, it's important because it goes down to a biblical standards, because that's what Jesus did with his disciples. He prepared them for his absence. That's what I want to do with my students. I want them to be prepared academically and simply just for life, for my absence. I always want to be there for them. Of course I do. But I know that I also want people to be there for other people. To kind of remember what we talked about last time, act of random kindness. That's exactly what I would want them to do for others as well. So one thing that keeps, I believe, us relevant is the fact that we lead by example and we take our own advice.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think that's important. So.
Awesome. Go ahead, Mr. McCoy. What do you have to add to that?
I just want to add on to something that Franklin taught me, and that was the honest, open, and transparent, being hot with our students, right? So when the school year came around and we were trying to do our get our programming together, we were honest, open, and transparent with our students, and we told them, we don't know what we're doing with this pandemic and with everything. So we sent out a couple surveys. We had conversations with kids and with families, and kind of saw where the need was, and we shifted our programming from what was typically, in-person study sessions. And that was before I was there. I wasn't working with LNASC before the pandemic, but it was typically, more in person and driven that way on a weekly basis. And now we're kind of honing in, just like you said about the mentors, based off the kids' interests. We set up different pods with different professionals in different areas that can help mentor these kids and teach them, and some of them are earning certificates in different ways. That's kind of the way we try to stay relevant, is by staying in touch and in tune with the kids and giving them a voice, right? In the programming, so that we're not just adults deciding how we think students need to learn and how we, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's all I really had to add.
All right. Okay. So Madeline and Juan. When I was a child growing up in Jamaica, I was told, hold on, Michael says, A caller just called in and said that the United States Department of Agriculture will pay for students to go to veterinary college. Did you hear that, Madeline? So you're going to look up the United States Department of Agriculture. Go on their website, write that down, please, and find out how they will pay for you to go to veterinary college. See what I mean? This is what I mean when I say these opportunities open up when you show up and be in seeing your most authentic spaces. So thank you, caller, whoever that was, and thank you, Michael, for getting that messaging across to me. When I was growing up, my parents said, you know, you've got to go to college, got to go to school, you've got to be this one thing. I was the child that did not want to be that one thing, right? So I grew up and became an adult that did a myriad of things. I was not limited by what adults thought I should do. Took my parents a long time. I was 35 before they said to me, you know what? You're different. We're just going to leave you alone and go do what you have to do. What is it that you want to do? What are the other things that you're interested in outside of going to college and having a solid education that makes you uniquely you? You first, Madeline.
So I've always had this little like side thought, and it's clothing. I like clothing. I like fashion. So I've always had this thought, like maybe I could, like, instead of going to college, if I don't get like accepted, or if I just can't make it to college, maybe I could like
She's going to college. She don't have no choice. She's going to college.
What you gonna do is this. You are saying, I am going to college. I will graduate from college and I will design my own clothes. And it will become the side hustle that makes me extra coins so I can invest in doing what I want to do while I'm in veterinary school. Did you hear the difference in the conversation? Or words matter? So I am going to college. Madeline, I'm going to college. When I finish college, while I'm in college, I will have a side hustle because I love fashion. You want to hear something, Madeline? I design all my own clothes.
Nice.
And I decided that, remember me saying now, this is unique child. So in deciding to design all my own clothes was because I was sick and tired of what was in the stores and decided to do it. People started paying attention. It got so huge, I designed for mega movie stars who saw me at functions and said, where'd you get that from? And I said, I designed it. We're like, you lying. I ain't lying. I have whole videos. And so do what is in your heart. You don't have to do either or. You can do both and. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? So I am a veterinarian and I design clothes. And that's just two of the many things, many facets of me, Madeline. You see what I'm saying, Madeline?
Yeah.
You're gonna hold on to that and hone in. All right, I love it. All right, Juan, Juan, your hair is taking me out. I love it. What other unique aspects are there to you other than education?
I have ADHD, so I kind of just...
Me too, Juan.
Right. You know the struggle. You know the struggle.
I know the struggle.
I have ADHD, so the way I kind of cope with it is I constantly look for new hobbies. I learn how to do things. So a year and a couple months ago, like 4, I started playing guitar. And before that, I started drumming. And before that, I started magic. And before that, it's just all these crazy hobbies. And I think the one that I'm sticking to the most is being a guitarist. I think that's pretty cool. So in the future, if I were, I'd like to perform in small bars, you know, as a little side gig. And, you know, maybe if I'm lucky enough, I'll get spotted. Maybe like...
All right. So I know I'm old and I'm about to show my age. I want you to Google Ernie Isley. Right, Ernie Isley. I want you to Google someone named Slash, S-L-A-S-H. And I want you to Google someone named Prince.
I know Prince. I know him.
No, you don't know like Prince, like I know Prince. When Prince died, I fell apart, honey. Mother created a whole garden of purple flowers. I was so mad when Prince died. I went to Minneapolis twice in the year that Prince died just to go see his estate and to give him my wishes and all sorts of good stuff. I love me some Prince. And why I love those 3 people so much is the way they played the guitar.
Yeah.
Right? So that
Slash before.
Yes, Slash is amazing, right? You guys watch Versus?
No. I don't.
Versus is for old people, huh? Ooh.
Young person.
But yeah, look up those 3 people and find out what their journey was, because they'll tell you that guitar and learning from it and moving forward has helped them immensely, and they became mega superstars from playing the guitars, right? On top of all the things that they're doing. I can't thank you all enough. This is so good. You tell them other students they missed a good conversation. Franklin, I want you to follow up with me, please, so that we can figure out how to move forward the needle in getting some mentors wherever possible. You and Nathaniel, I want to thank you both so much for standing in the gap. You are 2 brothers that have stood up in your honest, open, transparent, hot conversations with young people, and it's evident in what you have done here. Let me see. Michael says, NIF, there's a link for there is a link for the veterinary program. So go on the USDA agricultural website, and there's a link for the veterinarian program. Okay, Madeline, that is your homework. I wish you all everything good, open, honest, and transparent. I wish you that you will find your path, and that it does not have to be one path, that you can diverge and do the different things that you want to do, as long as you keep it honest and you're empathetic and you're kind to other people, that you don't major in the minors. Don't look at the small stuff. Look at the bigger picture. Think globally, right? And the best way to move forward in this world is to not think about yourself, but to think about the others around you. When you think about how you're impacting others, it also impacts you in the way you live and thrive, right? Thank you all so, so much. It was such a pleasure talking to all of you. Have a good one, okay?
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye, nice meeting you.
Oh, it was so good. I love the young people. I love the young people. All right, let me see. Michael, I don't know where you all got to put everything in one place for mother. I need everything in one place. I need everything in one place so that I can do this. And this is why I have 50,000 screens going on over here. Let's see. Michael. There we go. There we go. The time is now 3:52 and the temperature is 71 degrees, sponsored by Beach Companies. Dr. Ken Scott, president of the Beach Companies, reminds everyone to support Black people and Black businesses 365. Please view and download the free 2021 Black Business Directory and Community Resources Directory at beachcompanies.com. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on wordradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
If you understand the value of doing business with a company that values its clients, remember this name, Heat and Air Guys. At Heat and Air Guys, we give our clients extra value by offering lots of ways to make their lives easier, like financing for your installation. You get 18 months, no interest, no payments, 10-year parts and labor warranties, service on all makes and models, seasonal tune-ups, all offered by skilled, reliable technicians who value the opportunity to be of service to you. Call Heat and Air Guys at 610-583-3207.
Nappy Style hair products are formulated for today's Black men and women's hair, embracing ancestral hairstyles. Come and experience these products: beard oil for men, cream paste, and napping gel growth oil for braids. Go to www.nappystyles.com or The Movement in Mount Airy, 7133 Germantown Avenue, or African Cultural Art Forum, 221 South 52nd Street, or Culture Exchange, 1450 Point Breeze Avenue. Be happy to be nappy.
In these days of isolation, being home with a medically fragile child is especially challenging. Mars Care has been helping families deal with this challenge since 1984. Mars Care understands the special healthcare needs these young patients require and is ready to provide skilled nursing, rehabilitative therapies, and home health aid services. Mars Care is here to help their families get through this difficult time. For more information, go to marscare.com. That's marscare.com.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on wordradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome to the final segment of The Source for today. I want to thank you all for calling in, for giving your opinions, for making me go find more homework. And I'm going to read a couple of articles for you. There is a Netflix original called Concrete Cowboys that was based right here in Philadelphia. The Fletcher that spoke of the Fletcher Street Urban Riding Club. They're still searching for a new permanent home, and they've been searching for one. For a while now. A fundraiser for Fletcher Street Urban Riding Club has tripled in value since the Friday Netflix release of Concrete Cowboys, a film loosely based on the North Philly Equestrian Organization. After pulling in about $40,000 over the previous 9 months, the GoFundMe zoomed past its goal, and as of Tuesday morning, has nearly $150,000 in donations. It is a major boost for the local nonprofit, which was being kept afloat primarily out of founder Ellis Farrell's own pocket. The money will be used for care of the horses, stable building materials, and a documentary film being produced with the riding club, according to the GoFundMe description. This is located in Strawberry Mansion and a popular sanctuary for kids there. The horseback riding club is facing displacement again. The city-owned green space it used for horse grazing and lessons is being developed into housing for seniors with lower incomes, and the club's search for a new permanent location remains ongoing. In June, Fletcher Street launched the online fundraiser. Idris Elba was the one that played the gentleman that was in charge of the riding club, Farrell. And he was in Philadelphia filming, and folks saw him all over the place some months ago. It was funny. I love Fletcher Street Urban Riding Club because I'm dealing with kids, Farrell says, and horses and kids are my passion. Once they learn how to ride, they are here every day. A few weeks ago, the club was faced with fundraising competition from an unlikely source. Ricky Staub, founder of Neighborhood Film Company, which produced Concrete Cowboys, co-founded a nonprofit in 2019 while the movie was shooting in North Philadelphia. In late March, that new organization created its own GoFundMe, which has raised more than $57,000 towards a $2 million goal to date. Called the Philadelphia Urban Riding Academy, its website says it was created to preserve the life, legacy, and culture of Black urban cowboys in the city of Philadelphia. If you've never ridden a horse, it is something I can't even imagine. And if you can get your children to this Philadelphia Urban Riding Academy, I would suggest that you do it. It is humbling and energizing at once, and the horses are just amazing. Friendly Fred, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing okay, a little tired there. I just want to say this is still relevant. We are family. It's all about love, not dominating, but showing love and guidance for everyone else in the family, and sharing happiness and togetherness and loveliness, forever and peacefulness. And Mama used to say, take your time. You know, man, don't you rush to get old. And all the things you ask, you will know someday. But you got to live in a patient way. And things you don't know, someday you will grow. And she told me little things like saying, hello and thank you, please. And all I want for you is understanding, just to communicate is as easy as 1, 2, 3, ABC, the glorious freedom of the children of God, which are the family of God. Stay young at heart. God's design for the family and God's plan for the family. And welcome to the family. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, sir. Have a good one. Thank you always for calling in. I'm going to end this show talking about the Derek Chauvin trial. An article was written by the Philadelphia Tribune. The Philadelphia Tribune carried it, but it was written by Noreen Nasir and Corey Williams from the Associated Press, updated yesterday, 2021. Actor Stephen Thompson poses for a picture next to a poster of George Floyd in Los Angeles on Friday, April 2nd, 2021. Thompson is choosing not to watch the televised trial of Derek Chauvin. The white police officer charged in the death of George Floyd has provoked strong emotions among many Black men and women, all tinged with an underlying dread that it could yield yet another devastating disappointment, even though he feels there's a strong case against him. If you were listening to my show last Thursday, I had two brothers on, two Black men who are lawyers in New York City, and they gave us a brief synopsis of the case and said that it's more than likely that Chauvin is going to jail, but we have to be aware that he may not go, he's not going for the rest of his life, and that they have to follow what the law says about second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and voluntary manslaughter. So for some, it is too much to watch. Let me just make sure. For others, they just can't turn away. The televised trial of Derek Chauvin, the former white police officer charged in the death of George Floyd, has provoked some strong emotions among many black men and women, all tinged with an underlying dread that it could yield another devastating disappointment. For many, it has brought back memories of the disturbing video of Floyd's last moments as he gasped for breath with Chauvin's knee on his neck. The video galvanized the protests in cities across the United States and the world as the words "Black Lives Matter" took hold. I had to mute the TV, said Lisa Harris, 51 of Redford Township, just west of Detroit. Hearing Mr. Floyd continue to say he can't breathe and call for his mother, it was a lot. It's been a lot to watch. Stephen Thompson remembers closely watching the 2013 trial of George Zimmerman in the shooting death of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin in Florida and feeling blindsided. Zimmerman, who identifies as Hispanic, was acquitted on all counts in the unarmed black teen's death, including second-degree murder. I didn't expect that outcome, Thompson said, but now I'm a lot less ignorant. Thompson choosing not to watch the trial of Chauvin, the former Minneapolis officer charged with murder and manslaughter, even though he feels there is a strong case against him. I definitely have a fear of being let down, and instead of investing my time and energy into it, knowing how these things go, I'd rather be pleasantly surprised, the Los Angeles resident said. Marlene Gillensgale said that she had planned not to watch the trial to preserve her peace of mind, but she's found herself watching almost all of it. She had to force herself to go outside and take walks or risk watching the trial all day and feeling upset. The retired school teacher who lives in New York City describes herself as a political person who likes to stay aware of current events and vocalize her opinions. I'm trying not to be pissed because we have been here and done that too many times, she said, referring to other police officers acquitted in the deaths of unarmed black people. She's watching the trial with apprehension as she ponders what Floyd's killing and the way the trial has unfolded so far says about America and its values. Chauvin, 45, who was eventually fired from the police force, is accused of killing a handcuffed Floyd last May by pinning his knee on the 46-year-old black man's neck for 9 minutes, 29 seconds as he lay face down. Floyd had been accused of passing a counterfeit $20 bill at a neighborhood market. Ooh. The first week of the trial has included emotional testimonies from several people who witnessed Floyd's death. The young woman, a teenager at the time, who filmed Floyd's last moments and told the courtroom she stays up nights apologizing to George Floyd. The 61-year-old man who sobbed on the stand, compelling the judge to order a 10-minute recess. The firefighter who begged officers to let her check Floyd's pulse as he gasped for air, saying, "I was desperate to help." The grief and trauma of these witnesses has been on full display, filling in details from new perspectives to create a fuller picture of the scene that people around the world watched over cell phone video last May. For Kyra Walker, it was enough to tune out and shut down Twitter one day. I realized I just didn't have it in me to watch all of this, she said. So I'm going to end the show by saying this to you. Choose your mental health. Every morning when I get up, I am unapologetic about taking my bicycle or going for a hike. The time from 6 in the morning until 8 to 9 in the morning, I give it to no one. I give it to no one. I also choose my mental health that I stop working no later than 6:30 every evening. You see, because as people of color, we tend to go on and on and on, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if we don't create boundaries for people, they will take those boundaries and step over them time and time again. Learn how to silence your phones. I've put my phone in silent mode. The only time my phone rings is if someone from my family who is in my favorite list calls. Otherwise, I hear or see nothing and I can get a full night's sleep. Choose what you watch on television and how much of it that you're watching. So the Chauvin trial has not been an easy one for many people. You want to take your time, take it in sips and doses. Mentally prepare yourself that it may not turn out the way you've wanted to, because too often in this country, we have been incredibly disappointed by these trials and the results that come from them. And also take heart in the fact that laws are shifting and changing, right? That there are policing the way we know it may take some time to shift, but shift it will as we move on. And part of that is we have to not get tired of voting. We have an election coming up on May 18th. We need to know that in Philadelphia, we have a primaries where there's a contender for the district attorney's race, that we have the city controller's race is up for election, that we have quite a few judges. Know that May 3rd is the last day that you can apply for to register to vote, that you can still do mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania. I want you to make yourselves more aware of what's going on. We get on the air and we tell you these things all the time, but as radio show host, and I can only speak for myself, I choose my mental health. I choose to make sure that I am okay so that when I come here, I can give you facts. I can talk to you about what I know. I can talk to you about the research that has been done. And I have an open heart and a head to listen to you when you call in as viewers and to, as listeners, and to treat you with a modicum of respect, because you deserve that. If you take the time to listen to the station, we take the time to be respectful to you, whether we agree with you or not. That's how this thing works. So I want to thank you all for continuing to listening, for embracing what we do here, and giving us feedback as we move along in a most awesome way. Coming up next is Nick Taliaferro with Evening Words. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.